Moreover, the audit aligned with brothers' effort to uphold human rights and ensure accountability of the custodial institution. Unfortunately, contribute to the actualization of more efficient and human criminal justice system. So our findings: the audit team visited 7 custodians in Edo State. Out of the 7 custodians, 2 centers were for convicted persons located at Oba and Ozala Farm Center, while the 5 already have stated above. So, number 1, the warrant and legal document. All inmates were admitted based on warrants. However, some warrants came without the requisite case file, resulting to delay in prosecution of cases. And also, we also observed that there are some inmates that do not have what is in their warrant, because there are some underage inmates, and what is in their warrant is different from what we are looking at physically. Then delay in procuring legal opinion. Some cases awaiting trial are result of delay in obtaining legal opinion from the office of the director of the public prosecution. In some cases, investigations are not being concluded, resulting to awaiting trial. So another thing is they are short of manpower. A critical observation of the team is adequate manpower. This makes it difficult for the staff in the correctional centers to cope with the volume of work at various centers. These are centers where minors were admitted as adults. Where there are enough manpower, such measures cannot be identified and sent back to the station where they were brought in. The poor condition of the correctional centers. Correctional centers in the rural area are dilapidated buildings. Example is Abuja custodian centers, Oba and Ozala custodian centers. However, custodian centers in the city, like old and new buildings, are well maintained. Poor health and health facilities. The health facilities of the area visited are quite poor. There are no isolation centers and many facilities lack health personnel. Some inmates are suffering from tuberculosis, while some of them have skin infections such as scabies, and we did not meet health personnel in the area. Abuja and Abuja main centers. This is where these things are happening. Then interstate transfer of the inmates. Some inmates were transferred from different locations without their case file. Such inmates did not go to court because the record is not before the court. Then another one is legal representation. Some controllers have made arrangement for legal representation of inmates. However, the report is that some of the lawyers did not appear in court. Per month in each custodial center with a set of attendance target, e.g. 80% of inmates served. Another observation is the food quality and food quantity and quality. Ensure a daily supply of balanced meal that meet at least 80% of daily nutritional needs, especially in Abuja Custodial Center and Maximum Security Custodial Center, Benin, where we observe a huge number of malnourished inmates. The another observation we have is another recommendation is legal representation. That's mobilize the legal aid clinic and pro bono services through the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria, Nigeria Bar Association, and civil society organizations to assist inmates awaiting trial in all custodial centers. This will reduce the number of awaiting trial inmates within 6 months. So another recommendation is record management. Ensure adequate transmission of transfer record whenever all inmate is being transferred to another state. So on the B term now, that's the medium term recommendation. That we will take from 6 to 18 months. The issue of overcrowding reduction, there is need to explore non-custodial sentencing for minor offenses, e.g. fine community services, and to fast-track trial using mobile courts as provided under both Abuja 2015 and Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019. Implementation of skill building programs, e.g. carpentry, tailoring, and so on, to prepare the inmate for integration and supply of machinery for skill acquisition program in custodial centers. So access to the family, introduction of structural visitation schedule, and explore digital communication tools. Most of the centers lack government approved phone, that's phone booths, and enough weekly airtime to supply family link communication between the inmate and their families. So the long-term recommendation, that's 18 months and above. Infrastructure improvement. Recommendation and building of new facilities to reduce occupancy rate to 100% capacity, especially the Abuja male and female custodian center, where some buildings date back to the colonial era, which we also saw a building there that they were said that is built by Mogo Park for the female facility center there, and very it's an eyesore. Then judicial reform. Advocate for judicial reform aimed at reducing the duration of pre-trial detention and improve case management. The State Ministry of Justice should establish community service unit to complement non-custodial service and encourage the process of more minor offences through non-custodial method rather than remand. B. A case management and communication center should be set up for stakeholders in the criminal justice system, including Director of Public Prosecution (DPP), police, courts, legal aid council and civil society organizations to ensure efficient administration of justice in the state. Example of such a system is the Lagos Criminal Information System. C. Ensure that all cases awaiting trial for more than 1 year are resolved within 2 years. Then 3. The officer manpower shortage. Recruit and train additional officers to meet international inmate to staff ratio standard, e.g. 1 officer for every 4 inmates. Key enabler for this success: stakeholder collaboration, engage government agencies, private donors, and civil society organizations. Policy advocacy: push for implementation of legislation, support prison contention, and improve welfare. Community sensitization: promote awareness to gain public and institutional support for reform. The monitoring and evaluation: establish a task force to monitor progress and report on all interventional quarterly. Then our conclusion is this: the audit mark as an important step in tackling the system issues within the Edo State correctional facilities. The collaboration among various stakeholders highlight a strong commitment to enhance transparency and efficiency. The finding from the audit we offer actionable insight that support ongoing reform, aimed at reducing overcrowding and strengthening the effort of Nigeria Correctional Service. This will help ensure procedural fairness and improve the overall management of custodial center in Edo State. So, in the appendix, we have a bar chart which shows what the correctional center at go to the appendix, the bar chart, the first bar chart. Okay, the first bar chart which shows so this shows the capacity of each correctional center we visited, and at the first one we have that's the old new, which has the capacity of 500, and the people that are there is 812. Then the number of awaiting trial is 530. Pre-trial is 532. So the percentage is overshoot by 162%. That's overcried by 162%. So, and also same thing applied to the New Benin, which has a capacity of 608, and also has the number of inmates there is 1,252. Then the pretrial this thing is 919. So, and it's overshoot by 2 OCs. Same thing with Abuja and the rest. It's only Auchi female that is not overcrowded, and the farm centers. That's both farm center, Obala Farm Center and Ozala Farm Center, Ozala Farm Center. So we also have a sample population of inmates interviewed by location of the custodial center, which is another bar graph. So we were able to interview 31.61%, which is about 116 from Old Benin prison. Then also we were able to interview 42.3% in New Benin prison. That's about 166. While in Abuja we interviewed 13.39%. That's 49 inmates. Then in Auchi, which is 0.4%, we interviewed 2 inmates there. That's female. Then in Auchi male, we were able to do 7.63%. That's about 28 inmates. Then Obala Farm, with the percentage there is 1.36%. That's 5 inmates. Then Ozala Farm, that's 1 inmate. That's about 2.7 inmates. Then we also have a bar chart interview by population by genders. So at the Old Benin, we were able to interview 90 male, which is 90, that Old Benin, then 26 male. Then at New Benin, we have 123 male that we were able to interview, then 43 female. Then in Abuja, we interviewed 46 male, then 3 female. Then in Auchi female, we only have 2 female that we interview. Then in Auchi male, we only interview 28 male. Then Obala Farm, we interview 5. Then in Ozala Farm, we interview 1. Then also partial we have is interview case by their concern. So the number of pretrial we were able to interview is 53. Then the ongoing cases is 150. Then the convicted is 6. And while the no legal representation that no have lawyers is 33. Then the people that have medical issues are 2. Then non-custodian is 0. Then awaiting trial 3 years and above, which we have statistic of 112. Then no DPP advised, which are 11s. So the other ones are the pictorial evidence of where we visited. This come to the end of my presentation.
Team, I would like to at this moment ask Dahiru Mohammed if you have any presentation regarding Edo, and thereafter we can begin to ask you some questions. Do we have that, or do we proceed? Edo team still remain there to as well as question.
Okay, good morning everyone. Just like yesterday, from the data I received on the Microsoft form, there are also too many incomplete entries. For example, the next of kin, Edo interviewed a total of 121 inmates, 121, and for next of kin, only 14 was provided. Then for date of birth as well, only 56 out of 121. For age, 100 out of 121. Then for religion of the inmate, 74 out of 121. For language, 57 out of 121 was provided. Then state of residence, 93 out of 121 was provided. State of origin, 113 was provided out of 121. Nationality, 114 was provided out of 121. Phone number of next of kin, 21 out of 121. Out of 121. Offense charge rate, 115 out of 121 was provided. Arresting authority, 113 was provided out of 121. Date of arrest, which is quite 49 out of 121, which is quite understandable that it might not have, the inmate might not have the exact date of the arrest. Place of arrest, 70 out of 121.
Is that on the date that the person was supposed to be in court, either the person did not go or the court did not see it. And in addition to that, there have not been any attempt to update, correct, to know whether, to have another date. That's exactly what we're looking for. And does it then mean that we have as much as 30 of such cases? Because from what you're saying.
Yes, we do have that. And maybe more.
Okay. It was only in 46 cases that they were able to say the defense who was actually defending them. Is that indicative of those that do not have any representative?
Okay, I'll quickly paint a quick scenario for you. One of the things we noticed while we were on the field was the fact that when we are the urban settlements for our correctional centers, you have attention a lot of attention is being paid in terms of government, in terms of non-governmental agencies. Now, when we moved towards the rural areas, Uzala, Abuja, a good number of them don't have legal representative. In fact, we met one lawyer there who told us point blank that by January 1st, he will cease doing pro bono because he spends his own money coming all the way from Benin to Abuja. Bad roads, he's funding himself on support. So we had a lot of that cases. They don't have, a few of them that don't have lost contact with their legal representative because they've stopped coming.
This is very, very informative. Thank you, because what it means is that perhaps interventions need to focus a little bit more on those regions. There are some few questions I would ask, but I know the other members of the panel would also ask. There was, of all of the places you've visited from your report, you know, they were always higher than the designated capacity, with the exception of the female and the two farm centers. So I have two questions connected to that. My first question would be, what did you find out were the major reasons why the farm centers, for instance, were, you know, very, very, you know, less than the capacity that were provided? What did you, and I also noticed that you mentioned that infrastructure was really, really poor. So what did you get any information from either the inmates or the officers, or from your observation as to the reason for that?
Okay. Well, what we have basically observed, Edo states have a peculiar crime setting where you have rape cases, you have kidnapping, you have those that are culpable, that are really addict, murder cases and all of that. Now, for the farm centers, there are more completed cases below 6 months, and there are balance when you can move them to farm centers. Now, when you go back to the regular correctional centers, you cannot move such persons to someone who has a rape case, but they still have less than 6 months. It's not qualified to be taken there. So this is why those the issues we had. So we had less people that have less offenses in Edo State that can take it to farm centers that have already been convicted.
Yeah, okay. So the challenge is because the farm centers are for the convicted, and then has to be those who have 6 months to go.
Yes, and a particular kind of
less low risk.
Low risk.
Okay. What of the issue where you really have a very high number of persons still not convicted? It's quite high from all of the statistics you gave. What were the major reasons? I know that you mentioned one, which is the case that even when there are transfers, case files are not attached, so it makes it difficult to go to court. But what are the other reasons you observe that you think the panel should take note of?
Thank you very much. My name is Ogunele John. For Benin Old and Benin New, where we have a very high number of awaiting trial persons, I think that having those high number of people awaiting trial actually contribute a lot to the overcrowding in those two centers. And the issue around for people that have committed capital offenses, they have this issue around awaiting DPP advice. We have somebody, for example, most of the people who have kidnapped, who raped someone.
You mean the people that are alleged or charged for those offenses?
Alleged.
Because I'm not.
Okay, it's alleged of those crimes, those offenses. They've been there for 2, 3, 4 years. They are awaiting trial. You see, the comment is awaiting DPP advice. We have numbers like that, and we also have people who committed minor offenses, stealing. In fact, people who are supposed to pay fine, and probably somebody is from Niger State, stole in Edo State, in Auchi, for example, and the bail condition has been set, and they also have there's a need for one shorty because the person does not know anybody in Auchi. The person stays in custody for too long. There are cases like that. In fact, a lot of people from the northern states where they tell you that they've been here for 2-3 years. They stole. They were taken on the road. They were alleged of stealing, and the court had already said they are paying 100,000, 50,000, but they could not pay it.
Okay, all right. I'll just ask 2 more questions, and then other panel members would ask. The first I would like to ask at this stage is this point about underage. You said you saw a lot of underage inmates. So my question, therefore, is why is it that it was difficult for the correctional service to apply the provision of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, which clearly says that they should not admit underage? So what was the explanation? Did you ask? Did you find out why are those underage?
Yes, we on some situations like that, we spoke with the controller or the welfare officer, and they told us that their warrant already has probably 2018, whereas the appearance, it's clear that this person is less than.
Did you cite the warrants? Did you see?
Yes, yes.
So what were the warrants saying? 18
years, 20 years, 21, 23.
Yeah.
In fact, for example, in Abuja, he said the person in charge told us that he told the parents that they should bring the government certificate of his date of birth, but the mistake because they didn't have as at the time he requested, so they went ahead to do one which has a date that is different from the date of arrest.
Oh, who went to do with the family of
the family?
Okay, the reason I'm saying this is that the same provision of the Nigerian Correctional Service actually provides that you can have an expert ascertain the age. So is there a difficulty of that expert, access to that expert that can help ascertain the ages? This I don't know whether. So we just want to understand the context, because if people didn't have their birth certificate, the question is therefore, was there any attempt to try to verify or authenticate what they were suspecting in terms of the age? Do you know? Did you ask?
Well, we asked him, and for the charge, I think as far as he told us that probably because of knowledge, probably may not really know how to probably access these experts and all, but he told us that what he could do is just get those people, get the parents or the guardian to bring the certificate and all, but they were not able to do that, so he could not go ahead to engage the service of an expert to ascertain the age.
Okay, I'll just ask my last question before the others do. And this is about these health issues. You raised the point about the TB, you raised the point about the skin diseases that you saw. But then you also indicated that there were no health personnel, especially when that would be Abuja or something. So what were the explanations in relation to this situation? Because if they had the TB and you said it was only 7 that the facility for isolation could provide for, but the others were being allowed to mingle with others, so which is very actually of concern. So what were the explanations they gave you, if you did ask, about why they were allowing the other TB patients inmates to mingle, and whether there were something else that it could be done, and why they didn't have health professionals that could help attend to the issue of the TB. On the issue of the skin diseases, I don't also know whether, in addition to this, whether you try to inquire whether what the root causes, why is this, why do you have this, and whether there are certain steps that needed to be taken to prevent such from being the case. So just to understand a little bit what you find in relation to TB and skin diseases, and also the fact that these health professionals that are supposed to assist are not there on the ground, and the fact that some of the TB inmates have been allowed to make.
Okay, on starting from the scabies, for people with scabies, they told us that for some of those inmates, they were in detention for 2 years, 1 year, 2 years, 6 months in police custody without taking their baths. So by the time they were transmitted to the custodian centers, like it's an eyesore. In fact, one of the welfare officers, he told us that day before we came, he had used his own personal money to get editor and all those things, just to watch some people that were newly transmitted to that correctional center. Then for the TB issue, the Auchi minimum, for Auchi minimum that we had TB and also Ubiaja, they have just one nurse on duty attached to those two correctional centers. Just like one nurse in Ubiaja, one nurse in Auchi main, and it's the capacity is not something that the woman could do on her own, and they don't even have the medical facility and the equipment to actually treat such. For Ubiaja, when we got there, we saw that there was a particular NGO that come around to do testing, come around I think every month or every 2 weeks to test some of the inmates for TB, and for Auchi minimum, where we realized that they have isolation center. In fact, the isolation center was not built, so there is no dedicated isolation center in Auchi minimum. There's no dedicated isolation center. They used the office of the officer in charge of a particular cell. They use the office of that person as isolation center just to get 7 people away from the old inmates, just to isolate them. So the major challenge they have.
I don't understand. Did you say, is it the office of the chief warder? Is it the chief warder's office? Okay, yes. The headmaster. Okay.
Yes. It was the person's office they use as isolation center. There is no dedicated isolation center in any of those correctional centers.
Sorry, in addition, basically what we noticed with this was the fact that the level of attention paid to rural designated correctional facilities is totally different. And then this was a major factor. So the further we went into the interior, it was the situation.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. We have noted that some of the things we're pointing out with respect to your records, we're doing it because there are chances that you may also be involved in this kind of audit again. The completion rate of the form it can benefit from further improvement in case you're involved again. There are certain components of the form that ordinarily the excuse given may not be taken. For example, the ones that do not have case file, case number. It's not possible that there's a warrant and that warrant will not have a case number written on it, for what I have personally observed in correctional service audit. So I'm just saying this because there are chances, this is not the last time this will be done. There are chances that you may be involved again. It is better we have 10 completed forms than we have 100, but the other ones. We also know that there are some information that you can't complete except they are provided by the inmates. That one is different. The one I'm talking about specifically is case file, case number. Because the relevance of case number is assuming something need to be done quickly about that person. The quickest and easiest reference is the case number. Okay. Now there are some vital observations you made, which I also must appreciate you for that. One, you talked about a woman having 8-month-old baby in one of the correctional facilities. Was the baby born there, or was she pregnant when they took her in? How long has she been there? I just want to get a bit of insight into this. Did you ask?
So, about the woman that gave birth to 8-month baby, the baby was born there, according to the...
So it means she has been in custody before the...
Yes.
Okay. was the pregnancy?
She came in with the pregnant. She came in with the pregnant and came back there.
I hope you are not preempting me, Dr. Uju. Okay, he has answered. I wanted to ask who impregnated. Yes, because we're talking about cases of abuse, human rights abuses and others. We also have had cases where some people within the custody claimed that they were either forced into having an affair with either the officials or their colleagues. We want to know about it. But you are saying that she came in with the pregnancy. Are you sure, or you are just, did you ask?
Yeah, we asked, I'm sure of it. And also, there are also other ones that also have pregnancy present, yes. We went there.
How old was the pregnancy when she was brought in?
No, I didn't ask her, but she said she came.
So we actually looked at the warrants. So with the warrant, we saw the dates she actually came.
Okay.
I cannot ascertain, I can't remember.
I'm sure Dr. Uju, as a lawyer and also very vast in matters relating to corrections, will tell us about the implication of having a baby who is not part of the warrant and part of the sentence in the correctional service. Whether it happened, the baby was brought in or born inside, I don't know the implication.
The Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019 recognizes that you could have subsidiary situations. However, there is a limit to how long the baby should stay. I think it's how many years? 18 months. Now, while the baby is 18 months, it must be taken out of her. If the family is not taking the baby, then it has to be given to a social welfare. But there's another point I want to raise, which is also provided for by the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, and that this is in terms of how to ascertain for a woman who is found pregnant in the custodial center. It also provides even for a DNA test. So if it was a pregnancy that was observed while the person was in the custodial center, not that the person came in, the act requests that DNA test should also be administered. Just to mention, but if the point you are raising now, you're saying that visibly the pregnancy was visible when the person came in. So in that case, it was mentioned in the warrant. Okay, was how many months ago?
That's what I can't remember. Then,
okay.
Okay. You also mentioned about another baby you observed that was even already acting like the inmates. I just want a bit of clarity. What was the specific observations that made you to say he or she was acting like the inmates? One, how old is that baby? And how long has that baby been there? And how did the baby come in?
What we observed, that baby should be about 2 years. So when she was asked to rate us, she stood down, just the way an inmate would, and immediately touched us. It immediately touched us. We now asked further questions. She going to school, what is the provision? But answers were not given as we expected. And we said, no, this is unacceptable. 2 years, this is about 2 years, and already behaving like an inmate is unacceptable. So I think in our recommendation, we added that crutches.
Yeah, the 2019 Act again makes provision for crutches in custodial centers for female wings. It also makes provision for both prenatal and postnatal care. Now, if you say the baby was 2 years, that means it's already in violation of the provisions. Because so why is the baby still in the custody even after he has extended in the period he's supposed to? Did you ask?
Everything, no reasonable answer. I think it's still the bond and family acceptance. Probably no one was prepared to take that baby out there, and the bond with the mother, I guess.
Yeah, but because the practice is that if the family is not willing to take over, then the social welfare will be invited. But it's good that you have flagged it. Thank you. We'll take a notice of it.
Okay, thank you for that. The other aspect was the timing, but by the time we look at this in details, we will find out the timing and how that baby came in and all of that. Now, two particular issues of ailments you mentioned, tuberculosis and scabies. Are there no other issues you found?
Severe malnutrition and lack of bedding of materials, because we saw some cells where you have a couple of inmates with mats on the floor, not enough. Again, towards the rural areas.
And then the severe malnutrition, did you discuss with the officer in charge, both for welfare and all of that? Because there are also three key issues you raised. One is the food, another one is the medical, another one is the records not being rightly kept. Was there a conversation with the officers in charge on that? Or any of that, if not all?
Yes, I'm permitted to say this. We will be deceiving ourselves in this country and on this panel if we don't know the truth. If we give we say today officially 1,125 naira to feed an individual. That is on paper.
No,
but on reality, there's a point I want to say, sir.
Hold on.
There's a point I want to say, and on reality, practically, it's 750 for a contract sum. Who does that? 750. 750 is a contract, and by the time you do whatever you have to do, you are not spending more than pay 450 to feed that person. 150 a meal in today's Nigeria. So what are we expecting? Now, when I made this point that from the urban settlements, you get attention, you have a lot of privileged prisoner and inmates there that can cater for themselves. You have NGOs coming to support. When we move towards those rural settlements, it showed us the true picture of, I don't want to use the word, of the kind of support that comes to Nigerian Correctional Service. It's a shame. We can't continue to fool ourselves that in today's Nigeria, you want to feed someone with how much, and you think you want to get best feeding. The answers are just there. What were we supposed to ask again?
Okay.
The answers are just written everywhere.
I was actually trying to interject because there is a difference between what I observed and interaction I have or response I got from a question. Do you understand me? There's no argument about what you're saying, but I want to find out whether there was a conversation. Was there a conversation?
Mr. Social, how can you come to my house and you ask my wife that, sorry, why are you not feeding properly? And I give her probably those 5,000 naira. And I don't know if I'm...
No, I think what the panel is trying to find out is, you can have thoughts about what you believe is the problem, but you need also to have that validated by asking the person. Maybe the person have other suggestions that you may not have thought about. So what he's trying to find out is whether there was any way you had asked, why is this so? Even though you may already have your thoughts about knowledge about what you believe is the case. If it's not from you, did any other members of your team ask such questions? Not only for the staff, but also from inmates directly, And then once we are clear with that, I do have some 2 follow-up questions coming out from your responses.
Okay, and I also want you to have at the back of your mind, no, we're not asking you questions to indict you. You are not the operators of the facility. We're asking you questions to get information from your audit so that we can get sufficient clarification on your submissions. So don't present it as if you're making a defense. No. Even where there's a gap, it's not an issue. It is for us to note that so that we can use it to improve our future action. Do you understand? Part of the training is also that there are things you must bring the attention of the welfare officer, the medical officer, the officer in charge, you are not bringing it that you must get solution, but there is feedback you will get that will be useful to us. That's why I asked, was there a conversation? If there was, yes. If there was none, it's not an issue at all. It hasn't failed your report, but it helps us to do better in another outing and know how to dig deeper on this. So was there a conversation? There were actually 4 things I was looking at. The first is the food, second is the medical, third is the record keeping, and fourth is the ability to make phone calls, because it's very important. If you have an inmate who cannot be able to contact his family because he doesn't have 100 naira to pay to make call, that inmate can be there for more than 1 to 3 years. Do you understand? Was there a discussion about any of these things?
So we did have such discussions, sir. And for example, in Abuja that we went to, the charge told us that the allocation they get is actually small compared to the number of inmates they have to cater for.
You can see some facts are coming up now that are very useful to us.
Is this in terms of their fooding?
Yes.
So the staff said the allocation they get is not enough. Did he tell you how much that allocation is? Did he tell you who supplies the food? Is the officer in charge the one supplying the food? Did you find that?
Yes.
Do you know whether, okay, but you didn't ask, because it's also important, and I think you made a very vital point, that this is contracted figure. So somebody who has taken a contract is making profit. Now, if that person who have taken that contract now subcontracts it further, so the first level of the contractor takes the profits. Let's say it's somebody who won the award. Now, if the person gave it to the in charge himself makes his own profit. Not to talk about the fact that there are not enough checks and balances. So all of these things are dimensions that actually can affect what you see in terms of what the inmates feeds and all that. And a very important point your team have made is the disparity between the urban and the rural dimension. Because in the urban, maybe more of the inmates will self-feed, and that's why I'm coming back to that, because you use the word that in the urban you have privileged inmates. So the panel would like to know a little bit more about this issue about the privileged inmates. What kind of privileges do they receive? What is the nature, And then, because you said not only that you have privileged inmates, because those privileged inmates may get food, they may give some few inmates there, and then if it is others bringing the food to, what are the dimensions to it? So it would be good to also understand. By the time it is true, I'll come back to this issue of, this privileged inmates, so that we can understand a little bit more around that. So I'll give you back to that.
Okay. You also have touched where I was going before. Even in the rural areas, let's presume that they should even have farm and should be able to farm and also eat from the farm or augment what they are feeding from that. But how that works is a different thing. It's actually 11 o'clock. I have almost past 16 things to clarify, and today is Friday. There are more people to hear. We have heard your report. I want to put a hold to this and request from our secretary whether we can do a walking breakfast, tea break, and then continue. But I wouldn't want to ask you more questions so that I can create room for the other teams to also make their presentation. But that doesn't mean that I will not ask these questions. I will plead for the report to be adopted. If she permits, we adopt it, but we know that we have to meet with your team again and then ask all the questions we need to ask. And don't forget, we're not asking because you're responsible. We are asking because you were sent on an errand. You may have given an excellent report, but within that report, there are some areas we may require more clarification. It doesn't invalidate your work. It doesn't invalidate your report. I don't know whether you understand that. Over to you.
Thank you. Yes.
I want to speak to the privilege.
Yes, let me tell you the other thing so that you speak to those two. So one is about just a little information around this concept of privileged inmates. And the second is Edo State is one of the unique states that have at least 2 prison custodial centers farms. Some states don't even have at all. Some states manage to have 1. But in Edo, you have 2. So it will also be good if you have some ideas or thoughts or observations or information you gather which could speak to some recommendations that the panel should look at in terms of farm centers. What do we do, especially when you look at it vis-a-vis the fact of malnutrition and the cost of feeding, whether there's any way there's be something around that issue. Those 2 points, once you make it, we will, and there is a third one, which is about the staff understaffed. You know, if there was any additional information we had about understaffed, there were fewer staff, they were overstretched. If there's something you can say on that before we ask maybe 1 or 2.
Let me quickly start first withdrawing the word privilege. When I used the word privilege, it wasn't, I didn't mean, remember there's a it does not mean this.
No, we have decided to accept the word privilege. He said he has a comment about the privilege. It's okay. We just want to understand because he has a comment he wants to make about it. Again, it's just to enrich our knowledge to be able to know what to do next. Perhaps you would like him to let him tell me. Just tell us so that, and again, as I've been said, it's not an indictment in any form. It's to help us understand better so that we know what kind of recommendations to make.
Okay, for example, the word privilege, the privilege word now, for what we realized in Benin New, that the idea that an inmate on death row, like mere looking at them, these ones are like they are good, they are probably they have accepted their fate, and they have a means of taking care of themselves, and also the facility. Because we were told, the chat told us that there was a point, probably there was light out, and some of these IDRs came together and told them, you can take money from probably their savings or something to light the facility.
So these inmates also bring money. So the indication is that the evidence that they bring money to also self-fund and support the running of the prison. Inmate feed.
Okay, they eat the same thing that everybody eats, but of course they have access to. We noticed that I think they have a store where they sell stuff like a supermarket.
So there are a lot of commercialization and entries and activities, enterprise in the custodial centers where these inmates are. Do they cook by themselves? Did you see anything showing stoves?
No.
You never saw anything like stove and all of that? Did you see anything that looks like a place that cloth was used to cover some things around the corridor? You didn't see. Did you go into the cells?
Yes, we did.
Did you ask whether these inmates do self-feeding? Self-feeding. Did they apply for self-feeding? Because inmates can also apply to have self-feeding, to have people bring food for them. Do you know whether some of them applied for self-feeding?
No.
All right.
So
we didn't ask. What of the comments about
to capitalize on such opportunity but although it's not mechanized, it's still subsistence farming, where these people use.
You didn't see any tractor?
No, nothing.
Did they say their tractors are spoiled or they never had?
He has there's no evidence of tractor around, and we believe that the government can actually capitalize on that and even feed probably some custodial center around that.
Okay. What of the issue about the staff?
About the staff, majorly is from us. Majorly, I think they need more medical staffing.
Okay.
More medical.
Only this. Yes. What of other general duties?
Of course, yes, general duties. Okay. They are actually understaffed, but the medical staffing is very, very important.
Okay. So the staffing thing, is it in terms of the number of, they have fewer staff, does it affect the shifts, like the number of hours they spend in shifts?
Yes, it does, ma'am.
Mention that you can also send. Quickly, we'll go back to the general public, do you, before I go back there? Yes, yes, sir. Please, yes, sir. Please, can you show the microphone? I'll come back to you, the secretary, but I really want more questions this way. Yeah. Yes, sir. Come quickly here. Come quickly.
These are being done for the wardens to get favors. So I don't know if this is also part of the things that you're saying. I just wanted to.
Okay, do we have one more last question for the Edo State team, and then they will respond? Okay, Edo, can we hear your response to the questions that were?
Okay. Firstly, I think probably we using the word privilege may have been a wrong choice of word or something. When we said privilege, it didn't mean VIP. It didn't mean VIP. It was just from what we observed, just looking at the physical appearance of this.
So, do you have VIPs?
No, there's nothing like that.
How do you know?
From what we saw from our own observation, there was nothing like VIP. We went to the death row session.
Yes. But were they, because from what you explained, you showed difference between, and you took time to explain that. Yes. So and we've taken that. So unless you have another term, if you don't want to use privileges, what is the other term you want to use? VIP, you said no. But if you remember any other term, we will be willing to receive that term. But so what's the next one?
I think what they are trying to say is that the difference between the urban correctional.
No, we understood that. But the truth of the matter is even within the urban center, all of the inmates are not having the same thing, and definitely those who are different. You need to be able to categorize them in the sum that we will understand. But you can address the other questions if there is any, because we want to move on to. There are other questions quickly, but then I can respond.
Okay.
Yes, there's an issue about the farm. It is, we want to know what does a farm center require? Does it mean farming for staff, or is there a designated farm center? So what do you know from your Edo State staff?
Well, from what we observed during our audit, it wasn't for the warding. Okay. It wasn't for the warding. It was something that the federal government set apart for convicted inmates, and they have probably less than 6 months. 6 months to serve. Just to go there, they have a target to meet. They have to produce this certain amount of probably plantain or something.
Okay. So I'll just mention there are designated farm centers across the country. There are not too many of them, but these farm centers, as they have said, are set up by the federal government. It is a place where there are different things to produce, and each farm center have the product that are designated for those farm centers. And the inmates that are sent there are only inmates that are convicted, that are low risk, and that have few months, 6 months or less to go, because those farm centers do not have perimeter walls, so they are open facilities, and usually they are places located in very far places. So the other issue that you raised about farming for staff could be a different issue that needs to be looked at to know whether that is the case. Now, there was a question about death penalty. The truth about this issue is currently there is a United Nations moratorium on death penalty, meaning that they are asking countries not to execute. And secondly, it is to know that some of those who are on death row are also persons who have appeals, who are still going through appeals and all the rest. And the population in relation to the feeding, the number of those who are on death row is part of the number that are also designated for the feeding. So they are not excluded from the feeding allocation. Okay. So I would want to ask, okay, go ahead, yes sir. Can we have a microphone to Dr. Tonyo?
Dr. Agama, thank you for that response on the death penalty. I just want to say that perhaps there should be a way to distinguish between the moratorium and when a governor just doesn't have the political will, not because he cares about the moratorium, but he just doesn't want to bother himself about carrying out an execution. There might be a difference, and the difference might have consequences. To keep somebody on death row for such a long time cannot be humane punishment. Psychologically, it cannot be correct. So forgive me if this sounds very, very blunt. Okay, it's either you carry out the sentence immediately.
No,
it's not what I'm advocating.
We shouldn't carry out the sentence, certainly.
Exactly. But to keep somebody like that for such a long time is so, I think it's inhumane.
Yeah, but...
And the point I want to make is that I think we need to make a clear decision. We need our political leaders to make a clear decision. If somebody has been like that for such a long time, there may well be reason for commutation. Instead of carrying out a sentence like that, you commute the sentence to life, which may be subject to whatever thing.
So thank you very much. I think life is better than death. So even if it means that the hanging this way is better than, because once you kill, you've killed. And they've found that there's sometimes some of the people you have given death sentences are found to be innocent. Now, the people who are on death row are still open to the prerogative of mercy processes. And the prerogative of mercy, through both the state prerogative of mercy and the presidential prerogative of mercy consideration, some of them are committed to life. So I think that once Nigeria begins to execute, that will bring a lot of negative attraction in the international community. There is a moratorium, and it would be good that Nigeria still keeps that moratorium. If we don't want to say we are completely removing it from our law books, at least we can continue at this moment and then see how we can utilize more of those reviews where they can be committed to life. So I agree with you completely that detention is there, but then a lot of them, those people have hope. They know that someday maybe somebody will come and review their matters. Thank you very much, and thank you again for the support you have given to this process. I want to put it on record that the international idea and the European Union have currently supporting this process and the reason why we are in this very comfortable environment. Thank you again for your support. Thank you. Please help me also appreciate them. Okay, we are going to, I think because of today's Friday, we are going to do walking tea break. But first, I want to ask who is moving the motion for the panel to receive this report. Can we have somebody move the motion? Yes, sir. Please, we need your microphone. Rapporteurs, please announce your name and destination and let us know what you are moving.
My name is Chukudi Victor, or I'm a law teacher. I have listened keenly to the report presented by the Edo team, and in recognition of the observations made and the questions answered and what we taken out of it, I hereby move a motion for adoption of that report as presented.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder to this motion? Please, can you have the microphone, announce your name?
My name is Adama Odefa. I'm a lawyer and a journalist. I second that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any opposing view for the panel to accept this submission by the Udo audit team? I see no such opposition to this motion. On the strength of this, on behalf of the chairperson and the members of the Independent Investigative Panel on Corruption and other alleged violations against Nigerian Correctional Service, the team will now step aside to receive, on the behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this report. We're going to have a walking tea break. So from the back, you just get the thing. So we will be just like as we did yesterday. So Adamawa team, the nurse, please be on stage. Let me see, come and take, please. And then Adamawa, then Lagos, and then Adamawa. So after Adamawa, we have Lagos. Okay, and the rest, Anambra and Abia, be on standby. Please, we are having a working tea break. You just pick your tea and then you come and then.
Okay, thank you very much. Please also, if you're yet to fill the attendance, please make sure you do so. And then also for your tea break. So, right now we're having the next presentation from the Adamawa audit team, and representing them or giving the presentation is Zainab Mohammed.
Yes.
Good morning, distinguished panel members, esteemed colleagues, and members of the public. Thank you for joining us today. It is an honor to present the findings of the recent audit report for some of the correctional centers in Adamawa State, namely Medium Security Correctional Center, Jimeta, Medium Security Correctional Center, Yola New, and Medium Security Correctional Center, Yola Old. I would like to skip the executive summary and go to the background.
Just give us just 2 minutes so that we can pick.
Please go ahead.
Recently, there has been growing concern about the transparency, accountability, and efficiency of Nigeria's correctional system, with particular attention to the conditions and of the correctional system. Reports of prolonged pretrial detentions, overcrowded facilities, and inadequate adherence to legal and human rights standards have fueled these concerns. To address these issues, a one-week audit of correctional centers in Adamawa State was undertaken from Monday, November 25th, 2024 to Friday, November 29th, 2024. Adamawa audit team was detailed to audit the correctional centers in Adamawa State. The Nigerian correctional centers in Adamawa State has many correctional centers, but the focus of the audit was mainly Jimeta, Yola Old, and Yola New. The primary aim of this audit was to review the case files of individuals in custody, examining the legality and appropriateness of their detention. This involved the thorough examination of the reasons for detention, the duration of custody, the compliance with legal procedures and safeguards. The audit sought to ensure that all detentions were lawful and justified, and to identify any instances of wrongful or prolonged detention. In addition to reviewing case files, the audit involved extensive consultations with key stakeholders, including inmates, lawyers, and correctional officers. These consultations were crucial for verifying case details, understanding the challenges faced by each group, and gathering insights into the systemic issues affecting the correctional system in Adamawa State. Inmates provided first-hand accounts of their experiences, highlighting issues such as delays in court appearances, lack of legal representation, poor living conditions, collusion between the prosecutors and the court staff to extort them, and deep corruption in the system that should enforce a prompt administration of the criminal justice system. Defense lawyers shared their perspectives on the legal and procedural challenges, while correctional officers discussed the operational difficulties and resources constraints they faced. The audit also aimed to identify gaps in case processing and custodial management. This included examining the efficiency of case management systems, the accuracy and consistency of custodial records, the adherence to national and international human rights standards by identifying these gaps. The audit sought to provide actionable recommendations to improve the overall functioning of the correctional systems in Adamawa State. The monitoring team highlighted notable issues affecting both the welfare of inmates and the operational efficiency of the facilities. This report outlines the findings and lays out recommendations for addressing the identified challenges. Overall, the audit was a comprehensive effort to enhance clarity, transparency, integrity, and productivity within Adamawa State Correctional System. It aimed to ensure that all individuals in custody were treated fairly and humanly, and that the correctional centers operated in compliance with legal and human rights standards. The findings and recommendations from this audit are intended to guide future reforms and improvements in the correctional system, ultimately benefiting both the inmates and the broader community. Objectives. The primary objectives of the audit were to review and audit custodial case files to ensure compliance with legal and procedural safeguards, identify systemic gaps and challenges in case processing and custodial management, provide actionable recommendations to improve the transparency, accountability, and efficiency of the correctional system. Our methodology is, we started with the audit process. The audit process involves several key steps. Head count. Monitors conducted a physical head count of all inmates in the custodial centers to verify the actual number of inmates in custody. Data collection. The monitors collected the data on all inmates in the correctional centers, including reasons for detention, duration in custody, and court appearance. The monitors also conducted interviews with inmates, defense lawyers, prosecutors, and correctional officers to verify case details and gather insight into the functioning of the correctional system. The monitors review custodial case file, warrants to identify delays, gaps, or inconsistencies in case management. The monitors compared the list of inmates and their names with physical correctional records and digital records where possible. Findings. Prolonged pretrial detention and excessive adjournments. Our audit revealed a disturbing trend of prolonged pretrial detention, particularly in Yola Old and Yola New Medium Security Centers. A significant number of inmates have been held on holding charges for periods ranging from 2 to 5 years without seeing the judge in open court. They are taken to court and the registrars simply give dates outside the court. This defeats the purpose of the prosecutor or the defendant to provide the court with reasons why the DPP haven't given opinion yet and why the actual charge has not been filed. Furthermore, many of these inmates have experienced excessive adjournments, with some cases having been adjourned between 20 to 40 times and in extreme cases 40 to 55 times, without the inmates ever appearing before a judge. Allegation of fake bail and suspicious prosecutorial practices. Our audit revealed a disturbing discrepancy regarding inmates' bail status. A significant number of inmates claimed to be on bail, corroborated by correctional officers who stated that their casemates have been released on bail. However, upon receiving the relevant documents, we found that no indication of bail in the majority of cases, and only about 3 cases had clear documentation of bail signed by the chief judge. Inmates and correctional officers reported that prosecutors requested inmates' families to visit, implying that bribes were being solicited to drop or reduce charges. Our investigations suggest that these inmates were not actually on bail and that prosecutors may be engaging in corrupt practices. There is also allegation of judicial corruption and suspicious court activities. Our audit team uncovered disturbing allegations of judicial corruption and suspicious activities, particularly in Chief Magistrate Court 2. Inmates' testimonies and warrant cross-examination revealed 1. Demands for bribes. An inmate alleged that clerk of court demanded 100,000 naira upon arrest, and when the inmate refused, they were sent to Correctional Center. Bribe payment. The same inmate claimed to have paid 50,000 to the clerk, 50,000 naira to the clerk, promising to pay the balance upon release. The clerk allegedly informed the judge who approved the payments. Unfulfilled promises. Despite the payment, the inmate remained in detention at the time of our visit. Disproportionate detention warrants. Chief Magistrate Court 2 issued the highest number of detention warrants across the 3 correctional facilities visited. These allegations raise serious concerns about potential corruption and abuse of power within the judiciary. There is also allegation of age fabrication and detention of juveniles. Our audit team discovered a disturbing trend of age fabrication by the police, resulting in the detention of juveniles in adult correctional facilities. Upon reviewing the case files and conducting interviews with the inmates, we found several instances where the age of juveniles had been falsified by the police. This fabrication of ages have severe consequences as it leads to the detention of minors in adult facilities, exposing them to physical and emotional harm. Furthermore, it denies them access to the special protection and care afforded to juveniles under the law. The police action in this regard are a clear violation of the rights of these juveniles and undermine the principle of juvenile justice. There is also allegation of misclassification of these cases as criminal breach of trust. Our audit team encountered a concerning trend where inmates detained on allegation of criminal breach of trust claimed to be debtors, while acknowledging the fine line between debt, which is a civil matter, and CBT. Our investigation suggests that some cases may be misclassified. Inmates' accounts and testimonies led us to believe that these cases might be debt-related rather than genuine CBT cases. This raises concern about the potential abuse of the criminal justice system to settle civil debts rather than pursuing legitimate criminal prosecutions. The misclassification of debt cases as CBT can have severe consequences, including unnecessary detention, reputational damage, and financial hardship. It is essential to review these cases and ensure that the criminal justice system is not being exploited to settle civil debts. There is also alleged vigilante-related arrest and detention. The audit revealed a concerning trend where vigilantes are arresting individuals who are simply going about their daily lives. These vigilantes accuse them of serious crimes such as kidnapping, firearm possession, and robbery, often without a clear understanding of the charges or any specific explanation of the facts surrounding their arrest. Many of those arrested reported that they were unaware of the offenses they were being accused of and have been awaiting trial for extended periods. substandard medical care and inadequate healthcare services. Our audit revealed that access to quality medical care is severely inadequate across correctional facilities. Sick inmates, including those in critical conditions, are not receiving timely and effective medical attention. Furthermore, the medical team expressed concerns about the lack of essential medications, excavating the already there healthcare situation. In the Medium Security Center, Jamaica, quite several inmates have scabies and other skin infections, arthritis, and the majority of them look sickly and malnourished. In the Yolani prison, although there are adequate cells, some inmates suffer from severe illnesses such as ulcer and appendicitis, and few have mental health problems. The medical team in all 3 correctional centers reported inadequate medical supplies, as most of the time medications are not available for certain conditions. Even taken to a general hospital in town, the prescribed medicines cannot be provided, and they lack proper diagnostic facilities to address health needs of inmates. Opportunity for significant reduction in prison population. Our audits revealed that convicted inmates with the option of fine and compensation constitute a good percentage of the inmate population in Adamawa State. Notably, if these inmates were to pay their fines and be released, they could fulfill their compensation obligations outside of prison. Jamaica Custodial Center alone has 61 out of 264 inmates on either fine or fine and compensation. These findings present a significant opportunity to reduce the prison population in Adamawa State by facilitating the payment of fines and releasing these inmates. The state can alleviate prison congestion, reduce costs, and promote rehabilitation and integration into society. Here with me, we have a list of inmates on fine, or those on fine and compensation.
Okay, we will take that together when we are taking your report.
Okay. So there is this allegation of denial of access to justice. Inmates detained without court appearances. Our audit team discovered a concerning trend where inmates detained by courts not serviced by the correctional centers had not appeared in court since their detention. Correctional officers informed us that in such cases, the courts typically arrange for a vehicle to transport the inmates to court. This finding raises serious concerns about the denial of access to justice for these inmates. The lack of court appearances and reliance on ad hoc transportation arrangements may indicate systemic failures and neglect of inmates' rights. Key issues included prolonged pretrial detention. Many inmates were held in pretrial detention for extended periods due to delays in court proceedings. This prolonged detention violated their right to a fair and timely trial. Detention for minor offenses. Several inmates were detained for minor offenses or non-criminal matters, raising concerns about the appropriateness of their detention. This indicates that there is underutilization of non-custodial sanctions in the state. The team discovered that the record officer of the Medium Security Custodial Center, Yolanim, is the officer in charge of non-custodial measures in the state. Violation of detainees' rights. Inmates' rights to fair and timely legal proceedings were often violated due to prolonged detention and delays in court appearances. Poor living conditions. Inmates face poor living conditions, including overcrowded cells and inadequate healthcare services. So this is a statistical data. A chart I will explain. The chat is not showing.
You don't have to worry about that if it's not. I hope as we are taking our breakfast, we are listening, and because we also give opportunities for you to ask your questions. Yes, please.
Okay, I'll go ahead to stakeholder engagement. Interviews and consultations. Monitors conducted interviews with inmates, defense lawyers, and correctional officers. Key insights from these consultations included concerns about delays in case processing, challenges in accessing legal representation, and issues related to the treatment of inmates. Okay, I will explain the charts now. The chart displays population breakdown for 3 custodial centers. MSCC Yola New, Medium Security Center, Yola Old, and Medium Security Center, Jamaica. The blue color represents the custodial center capacity, where in Yola New we have 800 capacity, and the total lockup represent the orange color, where in Yola New we have 760. The ash color represents the difference. That is, it indicates that we have the capacity of 800 and the total lockup is 760, which indicates that we still can accommodate 40. Then the yellow represents the convicted, where in Yola New we have 487 cases, and the awaiting trial represents the light blue, where we have 16 cases, no, 487 cases awaiting trial. And lifers, we have 9 and IDR 16. In Medium Security Center Yola Old, it has a capacity of 500 and convicted 375. The difference is 125, and those, okay, total lockup is 375 and convicted 119. Those awaiting trial 228, and lifers 5 and 23 IDR. While in Medium Security Center Jamaica, it has a capacity of 300 inmates, while the total lockup is 371, which indicates that it's overpopulated by 71, and the total number of convicted inmates is 118, and total number of awaiting trial inmates is 253, while we don't have any lifer or ADR in Jamaica. Okay. Our monitors conducted interviews with inmates, defense lawyers, and correctional officers. Key insights from these consultations included concerns about delays in case processing, challenges in accessing legal representation, and issues related to the treatment of inmates. Specific feedback include inmates' frustration. Inmates expressed frustration with prolonged detention and lack of timely court appearances. They also highlighted issues related to the inadequate legal representation and poor living condition. The institutional challenges observed, staffing and facility issues. The staff strength in Medium Security Center Yola New facility is insufficient to manage the population effectively, as the number of staff is quite small compared to the population of the inmates and the facility. Offices lack adequate furniture and equipment. hampering the staff's ability to perform their duties efficiently. For example, they do not have a printer at the Jimeta Medium Security Center, and they complain of not having enough computers also. Procedural challenges observed. Have delays in court proceedings, lengthy adjournment, slow trial processes, and inadequate communication between courts and correctional facilities. Inadequate legal representation, limited access to legal aid, inexperienced or unqualified legal representatives, and inadequate communication between lawyers and clients. Human resource challenges observed. Corruption and unethical practices. Allegation of corruption, bribery, and unethical practices among some state actors undermine the integrity of the justice system. Recommendations. Based on the findings, the following recommendations are provided to improve the correctional system. For the issue of prolonged pre-trial detention and excessive adjournment, we recommend to establish a monitoring mechanism to track the length of pre-trial detention and adjournment, implement a system for regular review of cases, and prevent unnecessary delays. Provide training for judges, prosecutors, and court staff on efficient case management and importance of timely trials. On the allegation of fake bail and suspicious prosecutorial practices, we recommend to conduct a thorough investigation into allegations of corruption and fake bail practices. To also establish a transparent and accountable system for bail administration. To provide training for prosecutors on ethical practices and the importance of upholding the rule of law. On the allegations of judicial corruption and suspicious court activities, we recommend to conduct a thorough investigation into allegations of judicial corruption and suspicious court activities. To also establish a transparent and accountable system for court administration. To provide training for judges and court staff on ethical practices and the importance of upholding the rule of law. On the allegation of vigilante-related arrest and detention, we recommend to engage in a cooperative partnership with law enforcement agencies to tackle the growing concern surrounding arrest and detention associated with vigilantism. The collaboration aims to ensure that individuals are not subjected to unlawful detention and that their rights to due process are upheld and protected through the legal proceedings. On the allegation of age fabrication and detention of juveniles, we recommend to conduct a thorough investigation into allegations of age fabrication and detention of juveniles, establish a system for verifying the age of inmates and ensuring that juveniles are detained in appropriate facilities. We also recommend to provide training for police officers and correctional staff on the importance of protecting the rights of juveniles. On the allegation of misclassification of death cases as criminal breach of trust, we recommend to conduct a review of cases to identify those that may have been misclassified. We also recommend to establish a system for ensuring that death cases are handled through civil proceedings rather than criminal prosecutions. We also recommend to provide training for judges, prosecutors, and court staff on the distinction between death cases and criminal breach of trust. On the substandard medical care and inadequate healthcare services, we recommend to provide additional resources and funding to improve healthcare services in correctional facilities. We also recommend to establish a system for monitoring the health and well-being of inmates, and also provide training for medical staff on the importance of providing quality healthcare services. opportunity for significant reduction in prison population. We recommend to establish a system for facilitating the payment of fines and compensation by inmates, provide support and resources to help inmates reintegrate into society upon release. We also recommend to conduct regular reviews of the prison population to identify opportunities for reduction. We also, on the allegation of denial of access to justice, inmates detained without court appearances. We recommend to establish a system for ensuring that inmates receive regular court appearances and also provide additional resources and funding to support the transportation of inmates to court. We also recommend to conduct regular reviews of the prison population to identify inmates who have not received court appearances. And the issue of lack of training on international standards. We recommend to provide training for correctional officers on international standards for detention, such as the Nelson Mandela rules. Establish a system for monitoring compliance with these standards and conduct regular reviews of the prison population to identify areas of improvement. We also recommend that an officer in charge of non-custodial measures should be appointed and allow the record officer in Yolani to focus on records alone. The audit team made further recommendations to it: collaboration and coordination. The audit highlighted the importance of the collaboration among correctional officers, government agencies, development partners, and CSOs. Effective teamwork and coordination were essential for the successful completion of the audit. Key aspects of the collaboration included joint training sessions. Joint training sessions were conducted to build a common understanding of audit objectives and methodologies. These sessions also provide opportunity for stakeholders to share their experiences and insights. Regular communication and coordination meetings. Regular meetings were held to address challenges and share progress updates.
How much more time? Because we still have a lot of...
Just a page. Just one page.
Okay.
Okay.
Just go to the bullet points of this because of time.
Okay. We have collaborative problem solving, reduce delays in case processing, enhance accuracy and consistency of custodial records, strengthen adherence to human rights standards, and foster collaboration among stakeholders.
Thank you very much. So the Director of Joint Services, member of the panel, will first start with the question.
Thank you. Presenter, the course of your presentation made mention of allegation of corruption of fiscal practices. Can you elaborate on this in relation to correctional centers in Adamawa? And secondly, whether in the course of your assignment you have come across what they call elite cells in correctional centers? Elite cells.
We visited the cells. Okay, we visited the cells and we didn't discover anything like that.
No elite cells?
At all. In the tree, we visited just...
What was BIP?
No, there was nothing like that.
Isolation?
Yes, we at the Yola... No, not Jamita. We saw an isolation for those that have infectious diseases, and we saw a particular patient with tuberculosis was isolated.
Can you tell us more about the corruption practices?
During the investigation relating with the inmates, we discovered that first thing we discovered was the issue of mixing up civil cases as criminal case, converting civil case to criminal case. A case of clearly that this is a civil case, it was being manipulated to criminal case. In fact, there was a particular one we discovered that it was the reason reason why the person was in prison was because they said in contempt of court because he refused to attend court hearing and was sent to prison. That is one we discovered. There was a particular one we discovered that the registrar of the court called him and told him that if he did not pay so amount of money, that he would send for him to be sent to. And because about 100,000 naira he didn't pay, he was in the prison for that. That was the registrar of CFC2.
So as you mentioned this, do you have more details? I mean, like the name and the name, because what you're saying, we would like you to send to the panel with more details. Please, can I plead that everybody should just please join the team? Can you work and move in so that we can all participate on this particular session? So everybody at the back, please just join and have a seat in front here. I have some few questions, and then we're also going to be very much aware of the fact that we still have other states to deal with. So I have some few questions.
On the issues of the corruption,
yes,
there are so many other corruption cases.
So what were they?
Particularly in Yola Road, we noticed about 2 prosecutors who were notorious to keeping inmates and on withholding charge. And asking them to bring money like 500, 800,000 for them to be released. The unit will tell us that they asked for that money, and if their family are able to raise that money, they will be released.
Okay. So again, these specific details will be very good that you make them available, because what this is showing is that corruption that are being carried out by other agencies within the criminal justice system are having impact on the people who are in custody. So it is important that we see the lens of corruption beyond just the Nigerian Correctional Service, but to see what others, be them the judiciary, be it the prosecution, be it the law enforcement agencies. So I think that point is a very valid point that would be good for us to have. I need some clarification on something you said. Did I hear you right when that there is an officer of a particular custodial center who is in charge of non-custodial? Is that what you said? Please, can you explain, because it shouldn't be the case.
We were.
Yeah, on this particular question, I really need to know what that is. Yes. But you also need to present in terms of statistics. Yes.
So I was actually the one that interacted with the record officer. So because we are seeing too many petty offences and they are in custody, so I was now wondering, do you people have non-custodial sanctions here? Who is in charge? And the record officer that was giving us the reminder was like, I'm in charge.
In charge of non-custodial for the whole state?
For the whole state.
What is his name?
We'll check on
but that would be strange if that is the case. The reason I'm saying that is that the non-custodial directorate in all the states are supposed to be manned by an officer of not less than the rank of a deputy controller of correction. And it's a completely different mechanism. Yes, there are mechanisms. Yes, there is opportunity for some non-custodial officers to interface with custodial centers, and sometimes they send them as desk officers for non-custodial in custodial centers, and maybe for one thing, maybe about restorative justice or something. But there's no reason why a custodial officer should be the same person as the person in charge of non-custodial services. So this is completely an aberration. I then also wanted to ask that in terms of the comment you made about those who are being arrested by vigilante groups and they're being detained by vigilante groups, were they detained? Yeah, maybe if you can give a little information.
Once they arrest them, they will take them to the police station, where the police officers will charge them for kidnapping or armed robbery. So that they will not
so this is a question of both non-state actors and state actors collaborating in terms of arrests in this regard. So it's a question to know whether those are verified or just they go through that process. I think it's important to know. Then there's one more comment. I will two more quickly, and then I hand over to Dr. Ike Izugu. You spoke about this notion of number of staff that are small. So can you speak a little bit on that issue? What do you mean that the number of staff is small? And what did you observe as the impact of this? So the issue of the staffing will be good for us to understand a little bit more on.
Actually, what we noticed that the first place we visited was Jemita, and we noticed that the Jemita prison was overcrowded, probably because it was more accessible to town, and there were enough staffs. There should be the considerable staffs there. Then we visited Jola Old. It's a bit big, but it was crowded, I would say.
Yeah, what I'm trying to find out is, what did you observe were the impact of this thing you observed as few staff? So what was the impact?
On getting to Jola New, which is out of town, the facility is quite big, they have quite enough space, but the staffing, probably because it's farther from town, they are short of staff, the staff is not enough.
What was the impact? What did you observe?
Even the staff complain that they are short of staff, that sometimes night duties, you will find that only 6 staff are on duty.
But was there any other thing you observed that you felt was consequences of that?
Not really, but what we are trying to do the head count, they are trying to let it look that let's do it small because they don't have their...
But you did the head count?
Yes, we did.
Was the number the same as the number?
Yes.
Okay, the final question is this issue about your failed bail practices. What are those things you notice about the bail? I need to really understand a little bit more about these bail practices, and link to that this issue of civil cases. Whether you made a list of those cases that you believe that are not criminal in nature, because it's something one can deal with.
So, on the issue of the bail, the defendant keeps saying they are bail, and after a while we discovered that some of these defendants, it wasn't like there was any express, or we called the prisons in charge that, are you aware that this person is on bail? You will say that they are aware, but there's nothing on the papers showing that they are on bail. So the prison, after a while, the suspect keep telling us that their prosecutor told them that if they bring so amount of money, they'll be released on bail. So that's after we got a large number of some of suspects who are alleging that if they bring 500, 800,000, even some of their mates that they were in the case mates have been released because they were able to pay.
The list we have is a list of inmates with option of fine and compensation. After we talked to the record officer, we went and linked this and...
No, but what I'm saying is that you did mention that there were people who were simply civil cases that you saw there. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you have that list as an extra for the panel? Because those please, it will be good to have that.
Okay, thank you very much, Adamawa. The bail we're talking about now, do they have counsel? Do they have lawyers? Some of those people saying they're on bail.
Most of these suspects don't even have lawyers. They don't have.
I just want to see whether we could speak to their lawyers to know whether truly they are on bail, because there are chances that maybe their lawyer is telling them, or prosecutor is telling them, court has granted you bail in this amount, but if you bring this money, your bail will be perfected, which may be different from bribery, may also be bribery, but we need to be able to put that in a proper perspective.
Actually, large percentage of these inmates that are claiming that they are on bail are withholding charge. So what this withholding charge means is this: upon arrest of cases that upon arrest of Upon arrest of this suspect of cases like kidnapping, serious offenses that possession of firearms, that these suspects cannot be tried in the magistrate's court. So what they do is they get a withholding charge against them at the magistrate court, awaiting the DPP's advice. And we realized that there were large percentage of inmates that are on this list. Some have even been there for like 4-5 years. We saw an inmate that has been there for 6 years, and it's normally that the DPP's advice should come nothing less than 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, and these people have been there for 6 months. It aroused suspicion that something is going on. Probably they've forgotten them, because by the time they eventually go to trial, evidence might have been washed away.
You encountered cases of trial extortion, complaints of extortion, did you?
Yes.
Who was that complaint against?
Against their prosecutor. They mentioned 2 particular prosecutors, 2 names, actually at Jimita Yola Old.
None against the prison officers, the correction officers?
No.
What of the leaders of their cell?
No, they didn't mention them.
Okay. Did you observe anything that looks like torture, abuse, human rights abuses, or on them? Was there any complaint of that, or did you observe things that look like signs or evidence of torture?
Actually.
Physical, mental?
No. The only problem there is like the population, the backgroundness, like you see a single cell with 1 toilet and 1 bathroom for more than 50 inmates. So that's the issue we find. And some, like in Jimeta, some of them are looking fragile, and when I asked them, they said like they don't eat enough. But in other prisons, in like Yola New and Yola Old, they are all looking healthy and okay. But in Jimeta, most of them, they will come to you, you will see them, they're looking weak and not strong. You ask whether they are sick or not, you say no, but they're hungry. Okay, did they used to give you food? They will say yes, they give, but it's not enough. And some of them complain of they don't have soap to bath with, or maybe.
Okay, in addition, I would class it as, because we noticed that across all the prisons, some cells, especially Yola Old, don't have beds, and the prisoner, the suspects or convicts, I think there were more suspects. The inmates were falling sick of pneumonia.
Okay.
Serious pneumonia, because they sleep on the floor and there is no form of bed. So even at Yola New, we saw inmates that they had to carry them out. They could not even walk, and it was pneumonia.
Okay. You observe fake bail?
Yes.
What is it like? Is it documented?
It is not documented.
How is it fake?
It's not like it's fake bail. What we are saying is that suspects are telling you that they have bail. Okay, what are the conditions of your bail? How do you know that you have bail? I tell them my prosecutor told me that if I bring 500,000, 800,000, I'll be released. Even the people that they were casemates together have been released because they paid.
Okay. some people have had long adjournments up to 55 times, 55 times.
And the very worst thing about those adjournments is that these suspects are on holding charge. And they told us specifically that ever since they have been going to court, they've never set their eyes on the judge. And they have like 50, 30 adjournment. They just take them to court, write it on paper that they've been adjourned to so date. And the thing that they keep taking them to court every month. So anybody that goes to paper would not notice that something is going on wrong here, because they keep going to court. And the normal thing that is supposed to happen is that they're supposed to go to the judge, just supposed to ask the prosecutor, why is this person still here? Where is the DPP's advice? Why have you not done the charge? If you are not bringing the DPP's advice on the next adjournment, I'm going to strike out this matter. So, but when they are not even seeing the judge, and somebody, they'll just take their paper to a registrar who will just write you are ever adjourned to next month. The following month they'll bring them to court again. So
Okay, thank you.
I would like to say something on the issue of those vigilante arresting people. The people claim that they allege that they are not given right to fair hearing because sometimes they'll just be moving about on their daily lives and
Somebody will just arrest
them and they will not give them the chance to speak up for themselves.
All right, do we have one or two comments regarding specifically, okay, there's a hand there, specifically for the Adamawa. So once after you will go there, let's take all the questions quickly so that we can move. Lagos, please be ready.
Chukudi Victor, that is my name. I heard you in your presentation say some people are detained for things that look like civil cases. And you've tried clarifying that, but I'm still wondering, is there any such beyond what you termed criminal breach of trust? That's the first thing. Now the other has to do with age fabrication, which you mentioned. At what point does age fabrication arise? Is it while the suspects are with the police, or at the correctional centers? Is it the police that fabricates the age, or the correctional officers that fabricate the age to be able to bring in suspects? Thank you.
Can we have the other questions quickly? Yes.
I want to make...
Please just announce your name and the organization.
Okay. I'm Zong Anino Mboto Elemi from the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria.
Yeah, we'll be looking for you.
Okay. Yes, I have been itching also to make some contributions, and my contribution comes by way of making a recommendation. And it is that especially I have observed that repeatedly it has been said that the conditions under which inmates who have certain ailments are considered contagious are not favorable. Now the Legal Aid Council under Section 19 actually has a provision enshrined in it that says that we can conduct visits to correctional services for the purpose of assessing, or any other detention facility for that matter, for the purpose of assessing the conditions under which inmates or suspects are being held. I feel that to a large extent, if the council is mobilized to be able to do that, and when I say mobilized, I'm talking about a lot of monetary support, because it would entail having to travel a lot. As it is, we are running on virtually no allowances for some of these interventions. So I think that perhaps that should be looked into, and that would be effective, because we have a very robust presence all over Nigeria.
Thank you. So she just mentioned the provision of Section 19 of the 2011.
Yes,
2011. 11
subsection 1
of the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria.
Yes.
So, but then also, I think what is being underscored is for every agency that have oversight, because there are many also other organizations that do have oversight of detention facilities, including the National Human Rights Commission Act of 2012, if I'm not mistaken, and Section 21 and 22 of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, which has about 4 different ones. So it means that these oversight organizations should be made to be effective, isn't it?
Yes. And I think, sorry, I want to add that it will take a lot of cooperation as well from the correctional facilities themselves.
So we need to look at that, and also look at what would be the best low cost, no cost mechanism to do it, coordinated effort to do it. But again, agencies from the various states can be involved so that the cost of travel will not be, if you are doing within your state, it should not be as expensive as that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Zeno Apo from FCTN. In your report, you talk about the congestion of the correctional centers. You recommended that the inmates should be equipped and trained for reintegration into the society. I want to find out, how does it relate? Is it that they are reluctant to leave the facility in any form because they are afraid of the reintegration? So how does that training, equipping them for reintegration into the society, relates to the congestion of the correctional centers?
Okay, Adamawa team, now respond to all the questions. Okay, one more. Please, let that be the final. We're running late. Just quickly announce your name, and then let's quickly move on, because we still have, I think, maybe 3 more states.
My name is Igor Anthony. I'm a staff of FCTA. My question would be on the low staff strength in the correctional center. When you presented, you made observation that there were low staff strength in the correctional center. In your recommendation, I was expecting something on this, so I didn't get anything from you recommended. So I want to ask, if you are in a position, what would be your recommendation on the low staff strength as witnessed in the correctional center? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last hand, please, then. And then you would give your very quick response.
My name is Magajiano Alayola. I only observed that when they finished their presentation, the data of what the report was not given or announced.
So, can you quickly, maybe don't respond, but remember your what so that you can respond once. Can we quickly have the data, and then you will respond in case if we have other questions regarding that. You request one fully.
Thank you very much. Maybe because I work with the team, the data is somehow very complete. So the only thing I noticed with the data from Adamawa is on next of kin, 141 out of 192 interviews. And also, another thing is the awaiting trial numbers. 72% of the inmates are awaiting trial, and most of the cases received from the team is criminal cases. And over 80% of the court handling the case shows that 80% of this court are actually lower courts. We have area court, you have chief magistrate court and magistrate court handling these cases, and 80%.
Yeah, which correlates with the point that she was making about holding charges. So the matters are before court that have no jurisdiction to try those cases. So all they do is to remand. Okay, can you respond to the questions that were here?
I pray I'm able to remember all these questions.
You didn't write it down?
On the issue of reintegration and understaff, right? See, understaff. So the reintegration, and empowering the inmates while they are still there is the fact that recommendation sprouts as to our interaction with the inmates and their fear of what will happen when they are out and after they have been in here for a very long time. We notice that most of the inmates are into cap with weaving. Mainly when they are there, they start using it probably to selling making of caps and sell. Probably they use it to support themselves. Even people that they don't know about this cap before they come into the system, they naturally get to start doing it, and it's a way of helping themselves. So they learn one or two things that eventually
on the one about the staff.
On the one about the staff, our own recommendation would have been that if what's it called? Proper welfare is given to staffs, because we noticed that the shortage was at Yola New, which is out of town, and probably the fear of the welfare, the transportation to the work and all that. Okay. If there is proper welfare, so that to encourage staff to move to Yola New, because they have large.
The points you have made also raises the issue about barracks, accommodation for staff. Staff are supposed to be closer to where the facilities are.
There were no barracks for the staff. Yes.
It also raises the issue about recruitment and all of that. So I think because of time, we need to pause regarding the Adamawa State and then ask for motion for the panel to duly receive the submission of the Adamawa State team.
Chukudi Victor, Odame, Veritas University, Abuja. I move a motion for the adoption of the report from Adamawa State as presented. Thank you.
Do we have anyone seconding this motion here? Do we have a seconder to this motion?
My name is Abdulakim Abishokwe. I'm from Krano. I second the adoption of the report. Thank you.
Do we have anyone opposing this motion? I see no hand. And on the strength of that, on behalf of the chairperson and indeed the members of the Independent Investigative Panel on alleged corruption and other violations against the Nigerian Correctional Service, the members of the panel here present will then step in to receive this report on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let it be known that we have received the oral presentation, and the Adamawa team have also moving at them as I speak now to submit the soft copy, and will subsequently bring the full hard copy to the panel. Thank you very much. Now, MC, please do call the legals.
Okay, thank you very much to the Adamawa team. For our next presentation from the Lagos Audit team, we have their representative, Chiemeziem Nziaku. This presentation.
Chairman of the Chairperson of the Investigative Panel, Secretary, members of the panel. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Lagos team, I'm here to present our audit reports. It's been projected. Audit report of the Lagos Custodial Centers carried out from 25th November 2024 to 29th November 2024, presented by the Lagos audit team. Because of our time, just skip a few things just so that I can go to the necessary. All right, the audit carried out across 5 correctional. The audit was carried out across 5 correctional facilities in Lagos State: Kirikiri Maximum, Kirikiri Medium, the Female Correctional Centers, Ikoyi Custodial Center, and Badagry Custodial Center. I will just skip the objectives because of our time. I'll go straight to the scope of the audit. I'll still go to the methodology. I'll skip the scope, but it's on the full report. I'll go to the methodology. We carried out cell-by-cell visits and head counts, review of remand warrants, inmates interviews, interview with record officers, stakeholders, consultations, and then I'll go straight to our findings. The first is overcrowding. We'll have a place where we'll have the statistics. We'll see that all the facilities in Lagos are overcrowded. The list is by 70%, which is Badagry. But all others are overcrowded. As a matter of fact, Ikoyi is overcrowded by 300%. Yes, I will get to the statistics. Prolonged pre-trial detention. We witnessed that in all the facilities. In fact, as a matter of fact, Ikoyi, 2,000 plus of the inmates out of 2,900, about 2,500 are awaiting trial. And that is a very big challenge. Now, inadequate health services. For instance, a single doctor is servicing Kirikiri Medium and Kirikiri Maximum.
So that is in a situation where there is crisis in the medium, where the woman is attending to somebody in the maximum, nobody will attend to the person. I have maximum of just 2 nurses in each of these places, 1 pharmacist, and the facilities are nothing to write home about. So it's a challenge. For Badagry, there is no doctor. No doctor, it's just one staff that is a doctor, she's a pharmacist, she's a nurse, she's everything. She attends to all cases. Disproportionate sentencing of female inmates. I'll read this particularly for the panel to take note. Many convicted female inmates we have found to have been arrested and convicted for petty offences, classified by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, such as prostitution. In the female center, 60% of the people there were convicted of this. Some sentenced to 10 months imprisonment, some sentenced to 9 months imprisonment, some sentenced to 6 months imprisonment for prostitution. And some of them have been there for some 12 months, serving sentencing for prostitution. What they popularly call as raiding. That is what they popularly know it as raiding. Raiding. R-A-I-D-I-N-G. So the task force will just come, see a group of people at some point, and then they arrest all of them, and then they will charge you. The next thing, the task force will sit there, they will sentence you some 12 months, or 10 months, or 6 months, as whoever is in charge pleases. All right, then logistics and security challenges, insufficient operational vehicles. Now, if you know the way Lagos is, you see that the distance from one location to another is a challenge. Now, imagine somebody in Kirikiri and the matter is in Empe. So it's a challenge. And then the one that had the facility that had the maximum number, the highest number of operational vehicles was maximum. And that is just 3 vehicles. 1 coastal bus, that's what they call Tata, 1 pickup, and 1 bus, 1 hired bus. So there are security lapses. You notice that in some of the facilities, like in Ikoyi, the CCTV was not working. And they have limited CCTVs. In Badagry, no CCTV at all. In Ikoyi, in medium, you have just 2 operational towers, 2 control observation towers, just 2 servicing, and it has the highest landmark in all the facilities we visited. Just 2 observation towers, which is not sufficient. And 1 is not in use anymore after the incident of the prison break. Then staff-related issues, understaffing and inadequate training of such staff, and then we discovered that some of the staff, there is need for, I will still come to that in our recommendations, some of them need mental evaluation. Because having been in that facility for a long time, some of them are affected psychologically. There is need for, but I will still get to that. Those are some of the observations we made. Then legal and documentation gaps. Many inmates lack legal presentation, delaying justice. And then cases are waiting DPP advice. I often stored for over years. So someone that has been there for over 4 years are waiting DPP advice. A number of them, their matters have been transferred they have been moved from high court, so they are waiting for to be assigned to a high court rather. And they have been there for 3 years, not assigned to any court. They are just there. And then some inmates are, okay, I've already said that. So I go to our recommendations. The immediate recommendations. The congestion of the custodial centers. I'll just take an issue here. Facilitate prerogative of mercy for long-term inmates, particularly those on death row. From our observation, it was stated that other states around that area usually do release once in a while, but Lagos State and Ekiti State, in the past 4 years, have not done anything. Or as a matter of fact, more than 4 years, over 4 years. It is difficult for inmates from those areas to be released. Improve logistics and security. There is need for improved logistics, particularly these CCTV issues. If you must know what is going on in the facility, there is need for adequate provision of CCTVs and then armed guard units and control, more control and observation towers. Now, 3 is strengthening the healthcare services, deployment of more medical personnel and provision of adequate medications and supplies. They have limited medications. I think in the female correctional center, we saw that most of the females were complaining of being asthmatic, and they don't have inhalers. They don't have access to inhalers. They can't purchase inhalers. So if someone dies in custody, it becomes a problem. And legal support for inmates, collaboration with Legal Aid Council and the Office of the Public Defender to provide representation. We discovered something that in Ikoyi and Kirikiri, legal aid counsel is not usually granted access to assist inmates. It is only Badagry that is doing well in that. In fact, we had a scenario in NCoS where we had a situation that we needed, because one of us, somebody in our team, is a director in Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. He called his colleagues from Lagos to come and attend to the person. They refused the person entrance. He took our intervention for the man to enter to interface with the inmate. So there is limited access to justice in this aspect, particularly to Legal Aid Council. NCoS, particularly in NCoS and Krikri, Badagry is doing well with legal. They have access to Legal Aid Council, but NCoS and Krikri, both maximum and medium, there is limited access of Legal Aid Council to inmates in assisting them in legal representation. Then we go to the medium-term recommendation: training and capacity building, training for staff on professional conduct, email management, and human rights, development of training curriculum tailored to address legal, health, and correctional standards, expansion of custodial infrastructure. As I said earlier, the places are overcrowded. You will see a facility, a cell that is supposed to cover 6 persons is carrying as much as 50 persons. And in that cell, you have just 5 beds, double bunk. So that's 10 persons. So the rest 45 persons are sleeping on the floor with mats. And this is recurrent in all the facilities. In fact, in Badagry, you can see a cell that has 12 persons and have just 2 beds. There was one that was without bed at all. Then strengthening of record keeping, implementation of digital documentation. This was seen in some places. Like Medium, they are up to date with this, but in some of the other facilities, they still have issues with their ICT center. They are not digitalized. They still carry hard copy files. And the challenge is, if anything happens to these hard copy files, what becomes of the inmates? Like there was an issue with NCoS. During the NCoS, a facility was burnt down. Now, as it is now, their record is that some warrants have been burnt. So those inmates are without warrants. You can't even access their details anymore. Then expedition of action in legal processes. We'll have the details there. I talked a little about it. So we'll go to long-term recommendations. Justice system sector reform. We advocate for sustainable judicial reforms to speed up trial processes. I think there is need to speed up. If you need setting up a special court to handle some of these cases and dispense with them, somebody cannot be in custody for as much as 30 years awaiting trial. There's something should be done. I will make reference to a particular court and particular courts, and also make mention of a particular judge when I get to the statistics we have. Because across board we discover that majority of the inmates in these facilities are remanded from a particular court. Building of modern correctional facilities, reintegration programs. We try to interface with the in charge in the various facilities of reintegration programs. They are trying, but they are not doing enough in this aspect. Then increase funding and allocation. Then I will point us to something we tagged exceptional cases. There are some exceptional cases we came across. The panel will permit me to take time to go through this particular section because it's very pathetic. Incident of John O. This is not the real name. I just have to get this name. The details are there. On 25th November, I'll skip that part. Background information. The said inmate was reportedly transferred from the Kano custodial facility to the maximum security custodial center Krikri after being sentenced to death for blasphemy by an upper area court. Excerpts of the one-on-one interaction. Lack of trial. The inmate disclosed that he was never taken to court for trial. Unconventional judicial process. According to the inmate's narrative, the presiding judge visited him directly at the custodial facility to discuss his case. Sorry, pardon me, that is his case, not his case. To discuss his case. Based on the said discussions, the judge subsequently pronounced the death sentence in the facility. Lack of legal representation. The inmate asserts that he did not have access to legal counsel or opportunity to present a defense during the alleged judicial process that held in the correctional facility. Issues of concern have violation of due process. The inmate's account indicates that he was not granted a formal trial in a court of law, contrary to the principles of natural justice and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, which guarantees the right to fair trial under Section 36. Absence of legal representation. Inmate was denied his constitutional right to legal representation as provided under Section 36(6)(c) of the Nigerian Constitution and the international human rights norms, such as the African Charter on Human Rights or Human and People's Rights. Irregular sentencing procedures. The practice of a judge engaging an inmate informally at a custodial facility and delivering a death sentence without a formal court proceedings raises concerns about judicial propriety and adherence to legal standards. Risk of arbitrary sentencing. In the absence of formal proceedings or proper documentation, there is no verifiable record of the evidence or legal grounds for the conviction, making the sentencing process appear arbitrary. There was no document whatsoever for our review on this issue. We couldn't access any because he was transferred from another place. Recommendations on this particular issue: immediate investigation, legal review of the case, judicial accountability, access to legal representation, and then safeguards against arbitrary sentencing. Compliance with international standards. We'll go to a second one. Female inmates, which I talked about partially earlier on, convicted for prostitution. A number of them were all convicted for, and the majority of the people in the female custodial center are all prostitution-related cases. A majority, say 70% of the inmates. In fact, I saw one I interfaced with. I said, "Why are you here?" She said, "I owe my landlord." And then it was turned into obtaining by trick, and the person the trial is still ongoing for owing a landlord. She's been there for over 7 months. Then critical health conditions. A blind inmate in maximum custodial center, Kirikiri. The man turned blind in the facility. This was a very pathetic situation. And at that time, he was suffering from paralysis and was hospitalized at the time of our visit. So being blind, paralyzed, I interfaced with the head of the clinic, the matron. She said, yes, the man came here, he was saying along the line glaucoma attacked, but he was given medical attention, but I'm not sure the medical attention was adequate, and the man turned blind. Asthmatic patients in the female custodial center. There was an inmate, the PS was with us on this particular trip, and she noted this. She videoed the woman. The woman is serving a sentence, and she will finish her sentence by next year, though she has another charge ongoing in court, or she has a serious heart disease, a serious heart problem. If you see her, the pictures will be uploaded later, but the woman cannot breathe well. They've been treating her, but I pray that she survives because her condition was very critical. But the head of the clinic said, yes, she has been going for treatment, but she finds it difficult to sleep at night. The body and body, everything, lungs enlarged and everything as a result of the sickness. Then in Ikoyi, we saw inmates with physical injury, bleeding. And when I interfaced with the charge, I said, why did you accept this in line with the Correctional Service Act? He said, if you reject, they will dump them at the gate. And that is the situation they have found themselves. So they had to just manage them. A number of them, for security reasons, we didn't upload, but we'll submit the pictures to the panel after now. We have pictures of them, some physical injuries, and most of them are elderly. We go to a table, have a table where we picked each facility and then make comments particular to that facility. Now the first one on that table is Kirikiri. You could see the open out, the capacity is 1,056, but the open out is 2,262. Convicted 526, awaiting trial 1,098. Now the facility has a school and a training institute where inmates are learning a number of things. And then the issue I mentioned earlier is the point 2. Lagos State and Ekiti State had a grant amnesty to inmates that have been in the facility for a long period. Also, inmates have been there for 38 years. Then the facility has a viable clinic with 11 inmates on admission. However, there is need for proper equipment of the clinic. Most inmates have their cases. Please, the panel should note this item number 4 under Kirikiri maximum. Most inmates have their cases in Honorable Justice R.A. Oshodi's court. I interfaced with a number of them. Honorable Justice R.A. Oshodi's court. And most of these inmates in this category suffer delayed dispensation of their cases. The facility is overcrowded and has exceeded its capacity by 300%. The facility is understaffed. A warden is covering about 3 blocks. How will such a person be effective? Not cell, blocks. Like take for instance, one person is covering Ward A, Ward 1, and Ward 2. How can such a person be efficient? So we go to the next table, which is ICOI. The facility is equally overcrowded, but note something about ICOI. The capacity is 800, and the open out is 3,494. As at 27th, so meaning as at today, it may be more than that. 3,494. Convicted 362. Awaiting trial 3,125. So that means 97% of the inmates are awaiting trial. Inadequate operational vehicles, thereby leading to delay in moving to court. Epe and Magon courts are courts with highest number of inmates in this facility. The courts in Epe and Magon are applicable with inmates. Then there is need for psychological evaluation of the staff. The facility is understaffed. So inmates have, note number 6 please. Some inmates have served out their sentence but are still in custody because there is a fine attached to the sentence that the inmates are yet to pay. Thereby leaving them remaining in custody. So somebody is sentenced to 5 years imprisonment and the person is also given a fine option and the fine option of 1 million naira. So the person finishes the term of work for 5 years and then they said okay, the person is here to pay the fine, the person is sent back to custody. So the person, I was one who saw that there for 1 year. So the question I asked the judge is, at what point do you determine that the person has served out the amount, the fine option to release the person? He says left for the court to decide. So that means if such persons do not have money to pay, you remain in custody until the day maybe the court decides they have served out a number of years to justify the fine option. CCTV is not functioning and no central control room. The third one is the inmates female custodial center with level 3. The capacity is 271, open out is 328, awaiting trial 257. The facility has a school. Delay in transfer of cases from magistrate court to high court is the major hook. They will tell them they are waiting for TPP and fines. We'll go to table 4, which is Badagry. The open out capacity is 320. Open out is 364. This is the only one that looked a little bit reasonable. And I will tell you why. Because of the distance. It took us 4 hours from Ikeja to Badagry. And then think of taking an inmate from Badagry to a court in Ikoyi. That means by the time you get to court, you know the rest. So that is why they have less number of inmates, 364. And out of the 364, 267 are waiting trial. The facility exceeds capacity by 70%. The facility is understaffed. Poor cell condition, no beds and mattresses. No beds and mattresses. In fact, it only has 1 block. It's a block facility, has rooms up, rooms down. The Badagry. It's not a good sight to behold. In some of the places, it's just 1 room, and then even the mats are not sufficient. No observation or control tower. None, not even 1. No CCTV camera. Some inmates stay over a year before they are assigned to court. The clinic needs a total rehabilitation. As a matter of fact, a part of the clinic is cracked. Part of the wall of the clinic is cracked. So that means any moment that building will collapse. Because the crack is not just on the surface, it's from the foundation. And table 5 is clinically medium. I think I'll be wrapping it up at that point. The capacity is 2,034, but the open out is 2,980. Awaiting trial is 2,374. Awaiting trial. So that means also 90% of inmates are awaiting trial. Now, it is worthy to note at this point, the point 2, all the septic tanks in the facility are open. All of them are full. And then the water from it is gushing all over. The whole compound is littered with sewage water. Some have, and I interfaced with the judge. He said it has been like that for over 7 months. And I asked, what have you done about it? He said he had made applications. I said, I want to see the application. I was shown the application. An application was made sometime in March. A follow-up also done with pictures accompanying. We also have those pictures because I had to snap the letters. He said, but nothing has been done about it. All the septic tanks. And these septic tanks are directly behind the windows of the inmates. In all the blocks. In all the blocks. So you come out to eat. It is only the kitchen that the one that is open is at least 100 meters away from. But even at that, it is still not hygienic. And then one of the facility, the roof is out. And people are still there. And they said, I noted it somewhere, and they said one of the blocks in medium correctional center, custodial center, a block has the roof out, a part of the roof out. And they also said they have made the same facility that has the open septic tank has a block with the roof open. And then minimal observation and control tower. But it also has a functional location facility, poor sleeping facility. Most of them, you see a cell that is housing 251 inmates with 10 beds. 251 inmates with 10 beds. You can look at the statistics of the open out in each of these cells. One has up to 251, and then you have just 10 beds. So they have what they call a provost. The provost have his own bed. You don't touch that one, and then all the others, the Lord will be with you. So no ambulance in any of the facilities. There's no ambulance in any of the facilities. In Kirikiri Medium Correctional Custodial Center, they have an ICT hub built by an organization that trains inmates on ICT. It is fully equipped. That is where they write their Open University exams. And then, but the ICT department of the facility has no facility. That is ironic. They have an ICT hub built by an organization that is working with over 20 computers, fully air conditioned. I tried to work with some of the computers, it was working, but the ICT department does not have a functional laptop. Yes, medium Kirikiri. I have pictures of that as well. There is a radio house in this facility, but there is no sign that is a radio house. Nothing inside. What is there is just uniforms. So there is no proper ICT documentation of the file of staff. Then this facility has only one toilet for the staff. One toilet. One toilet for the staff. I think at this point, that will be it for Lagos. Thank you. And one good thing about our team was that we had a PS in our team, so she saw firsthand.
That is from the Lagos, so we will follow the same procedure. We have questions from this side and then some questions from the field.
Sorry, ma, before your questions, I need to point out something. From all the facilities apart from Badagry, we discovered that there is segmentation of the cells. There are some where the inmates are very fresh. Very, very fresh, I must say that. And some of those places, in fact, the one I opened, I almost forgot I was in a custodial center because it had rocks like this. As a center rock, I saw stove in some. There were some I saw stove. So that means they were cooking. In fact, there was one I saw a bag of rice in this administration. Right. Where rice is 100,000. I saw a bag of rice in one. And then the cells differ. There were some you saw that they had only 4 inmates. Where in another cell you have 251 of the same size. And they have fully decorated beds. Fully decorated beds. So you see that the dressing of the people in these areas is totally different from the ones in the other area.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Let's start.
I also saw that people were trading.
Yes.
We also observed that people were trading.
What do you mean by people?
Now, I saw a place that looks like a Mami market. In fact, the PS picked interest in that, so I was asking, what goes on here? The questions, I personally were not convinced with the answers. Now, we were told that it's the inmates that have those shops, and then, but in fact, I went to one, I said, I saw packs of malts that were selling. So I said, so what happens to this? They say, okay, you want buy. So the question is, who owns those items?
Did they answer you?
They were careful, the inmates were careful not to answer.
Okay, no problem. Let's take the questions. I will start from you.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Very good and detailed, and in fact, it will even make me not to want to ask too many questions. But we still will need to gain more insights in some of the places. Overcrowded, some by 70% and some by 400%. And there was one shown 400, but in his speech he said 300. In the presentation, there was one that was showing 400.
I think that was the one that has 800 and is housing 2,900.
That's the point. So the extreme point is 400, not 300, as you said. And then they are mostly those on awaiting trial. And then you also observe certain courts that it appears that most of the people are coming from that court. Is it the same case or different cases?
Different cases, but mostly from these courts. But then the EFCC cases are usually allocated to particular courts.
Is it that same court?
That same court. Okay. And then there are some that are, the inmates told us that are civil cases, but they are drafted under advanced fee fraud, and there's one under kidnapping and armed robbery, and the same court.
Okay. And then female, mostly people that were taken during raiding, and they were more of prostitutes. We may not even conclude on that because we've seen cases where a woman just step out to buy something from her house, and then they are raiding and they have that. Operational vehicles, poor, very correct.
Yes, sir.
Sick inmates with no treatment at all.
No, minor treatment.
What kind of sicknesses?
Now, we saw people that were asthmatic. We saw some, like the one with heart problem, shouldn't be at that facility anymore. She be moved into it because she, her size, and because of the enlargement of every aspect of her system, she can't even sleep on the bed.
But you're not a doctor.
The doctor came to testify.
Okay, you talked with
the doctor. He told us that.
Okay. And then some, you talked about mental health evaluation.
Yes.
But you were not talking about patient inmates now, you're talking about staff.
Yeah. Both the staff and the inmates, basically.
Okay.
At some point in the report, we make mention of that because in, I think in NCoS they have a cycle cell. They have a cycle cell where you have those that have cycle issues.
Okay.
And they're over 200, over 50.
In NCoS?
In NCoS. I think in our statistics it shows somewhere there's a cell that has a cycle cell.
Okay, that's fine. And as long as the cell is in a manner that also assures the safety of the people inside. But where I'm a bit worried is not even about the inmate cycle condition, because of course that would be expected, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be taken care of or treated with all sense of urgency. But the correctional service officers, what specifically did you observe that made you to feel that they need some psycho evaluation?
All right, we interfaced with a number of them, and they said they have integrated with these people for a long time, and it's beginning to affect their mode of behavior. That's the staff now.
They are saying that.
Yes, they are saying that to us, because we interfaced with both the inmates and the staff.
But in your interface, what did you observe?
Now, the challenge is, first, they overworked. So that plays a lot on their mind. They overworked. Because, like I pointed earlier, one person managing 3 blocks of at least nothing less than 50 cells each.
And each cell having
about at least a minimum of 20 to 50.
Okay.
So that already...
In your display, I saw 70.
Yeah, there are some that were even 200 and something.
Okay, I'm just going to ask one question. And this is about what you said in relation to access that is given or not given to the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria. I need a little bit more clarification about this. And the reason I say this is one of the locations you mentioned where this access is not given is Ikoyi. And the Legal Aid Council office in Lagos is located at Ikoyi, not too far from Ikoyi Custodial Center. So I just want to note this, and I want to find out whether you had some interface with the officers to ask for explanation of this. And because I do know that maybe first just let me hear you out, because and to find out if this is correct, when did it start?
Okay.
And why?
The good thing about it is that the director in Legal Aid Council, though in Abuja here, Mr. Ibukunle, was with us. And there was first-hand display of what we complained about. There was a situation in the course of interface he came across. He had to call a colleague in the Lacon office. Say, please come and look at this matter. This person does not have a lawyer. This is a critical issue. The person came but was not allowed entrance.
So when the person came, do you know why the person was not allowed entrance?
And they said that there is no what's it called now, approval. There is no approval.
Okay, because this raises a very fundamental issue. I'm also aware that in that same facility, I had seen Legal Aid Council officers in that same facility. Part of what I saw, but this was some time ago, part of what I had observed was that there were duplications, because in the morning you would have OPD being persons from the Office of Public Defender from the Ministry of Justice in Lagos. And the OPD staff will come, see inmates, maybe towards the afternoon, Legal Aid Council will come. The same inmates that were seen in the morning, we said they don't have lawyers again, and Legal Aid Council will begin to see them, which speaks of the need for proper coordination of legal aid's provision at the state level. So it is a key issue that I think we need to take up and find out, is this something that is peculiar in Lagos, or is this something that is needed, that actually goes beyond Lagos itself? Lagos, it's a big issue because the population of inmates in Lagos constitutes about 10% of the total custodial centers in the whole country. And the staggering statistics you've given to us is also quite concerning. I will not take more time. I want to ask the general public if you have any questions for Lagos. I see a hand at the back. Please, can your microphone go to those? Let's start from the back, please. Announce your name, and there's a microphone. Okay. Yeah, and announce your name and organization. Yes.
Good afternoon, panel of judges. I don't know how they are doing this. My name is Dr. Grace Kudo. I happen to be a retired police officer and a medical doctor. I did a research at the Ikoyi prisons, 1991 and 1992. And it's based mainly on skin condition and their nutritional status. I'm really surprised that what I saw more than 30 years ago is still occurring. It's amazing. I was really in shock when it was reading the statistics, because we found that many of the hard skills, we use it to evaluate the status of the inmates at the time, their skin condition, and they are mainly contagious things caused by serious overcrowding, and it was in Ikoyi prisons. And we felt the conclusion and recommendations that if these prisons are decongested, definitely a lot of benefit will be accrued to the inmates. And I'm surprised that nothing, because those we made our recommendations and all that concerning that particular state. But one positive thing we noticed was that the nutritional status was great. And we tried to find out why, with all these things happening, they found that almost everything has soya beans. Soya beans, they put soya beans in. I don't know whether it's still happening like that, because we did well-controlled nutritional status of this patient. But generally, even the health centers were really terrible. I don't think enough interest is given to the correctional centers, they are really dehumanizing. You are talking about people sleeping in bed. In short, what we noticed at the time was that some people take turns to sleep because they had to sit up. There was no space to sleep. And I can see, you're talking about mattresses. Most of the beds didn't have mattresses. Although we had, very influential people who had the best. Actually, I was offered things when I went there. Things like, watermelon, great things which I found. How can you have people having so much? And we went to look at where those people were staying, and it was different. Definitely, there's a lot of discrimination.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. But what you have said have actually shown that there's been a historical dimension to this. This just seems not to be abated. And thanks for raising those issues. Let's hear the next person. There's somebody else. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Jamil Bala Muhammad. One thing that I noticed from since yesterday to do all the presentation are mentioning familiar words that has to do with congestion, awaiting trial, and what have you, and the health issue. And this very important committee, the panel, I think what we should take note is not very, it's just like what she has said, that is not something new in Nigeria. All these problems have been there for a number of years. But one thing, or the question to ask is, why is it that there is no implementation of recommendation, at the end of something like this, hearing, conferences, and what have you? So I think the panel should give emphasis on, suggestion that has to do with looking at what tarnish all these reports and recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a very important assignment given to the panel. Yeah, I think I saw two more hands quickly. Let's do that, and we will start taking on this Lagos report. Please, it is also important that Anambra and Abia be on standby for their own presentation. Please, quickly.
All right, my name is Dayo Mokong, and maybe I want to start on this note of prayer that we not go enter Wahala in Jesus' name. Because this is terrible. This is, if somebody gets exposed to this for too long, what they said about those people saying that they are affected psychologically could affect one. This is terrible. Now, I just want to talk about what he said about awaiting trial being caused by some assignment of cases from one court to the other, which in some cases take as much as, did I hear 2, 3, 4 years?
3 years ago.
Okay, so I'm not a lawyer, but are there no time limits within these assignments are supposed to have happened? And can people be, held to account? Is it not possible for maybe court registrars or court judges, whoever are particularly involved, to be maybe disciplined to ensure that this kind of thing does not happen? This is unfortunate issue. We shouldn't just talk about this like the other person said, and then it ends here. And sincerely, I'm also using this opportunity publicly to ask that, Madam, please, you will come on my show, on my TV. That's the only way that I think I can help this cause. Please, this is terrible. Please, ma, I'll come and meet you later, and we'll talk about it, so that we can talk about this on TV, on live TV, and we can have people talk back and all that and all that.
Okay, thank you. There's another comment somewhere. Please quickly, and then we'll take that as the last hand. Please, we have, today it's Friday, people are going to go to mosque, and we want to be able to take Anambra and Abia. Please, Collins, can you make sure that Anambra and Abia are on standby? What of Abia? No, they are joking. Please go to the platform, tell Abia should make sure they are ready. Otherwise, they're going to move it to next year. Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Indubisi Carlo. I have a concern. in your reports. One, you made mention of someone an inmate who has served 12 months jail term and is still there in custody as a result of non-payment of fine. Now my question is, did you find out if that fine was an alternative to the jail term which the inmate has already served? Because we know in law that fine is an alternative to jail term. Two, the issue of a young man who was convicted for blasphemy in Kano. Now, I want to believe that you made it part of your recommendation that there is need for further investigation of his claim, because it's unheard of that a judge will go to the custodial center and pronounce an inmate guilty and sentence him to death. It's unheard of, so there is need for further investigation. That's my observation and then my question. So we need an answer. Thank you.
Let's have that final hand there. And thank you. Let's have the final hand.
The name is Apo Eno. Please, my own is an observation. The percentages you're giving your reports, like the Badagry Correctional Center, you said it has a capacity of 320, if I'm not mistaken, is open for 364 or thereabouts. Okay? And you're giving 70% overcrowding. That is not correct. So please, you need to check the percentages.
So you would respond? No, actually, before you respond, are you ready for Lagos statistics? Let's hear the statistics from the Google form, and then afterwards, you would say something from this side, and then you will respond.
Sorry, I noticed one thing from the submission from Lagos team. The first 6 entry in the form is empty. Just the time of the submission, which is between 3:36 p.m. to 5:46 p.m. So it's empty. So, and it's affecting the response for the questions. So if it's an error, so they should let us know so that I can take it out, or I can open for them to fill back. And I also noticed that for case number, they provided 143 out of 153 entries. So if there are 6 empty submissions, is there an error? Then I can take it out. That means there will still be short of 3 case number not provided for the inmates. So that is a little.
Is that all? So what I would recommend is that if you can go to the platform, send all your remarks for all of the states so that they can quickly respond on the platform, and then or bilaterally with you so that you can have a clear data. Please, Lagos, you notice what he said. So it's possible if those first 6 entries are trial, let him know so that he knows whether to approach it off. So before you respond, there are some comments we want to make from here so that you will note this, and if you need anything to say, you do.
Okay, thank you for that beautiful presentation. All the points you made, we noted them, and we will look at them in greater details. But some are very, very key that we mentioned to you that we also have taken special notes of them. The physical file management, because it means that if there's any destruction, it will be difficult to get the information about the inmate, and the inmate suffers for what he or she has not caused. And that's one. The awaiting trial length, which you mentioned 13 years, even though we know that there are some places that have even seen much more than that, is totally unacceptable. We have noticed that. Now, the issue of a judge handing over death sentence to an inmate within the correctional facility, and there is no document. That is very important to us. We are taking it as a priority case because if the judicial system is that way, it means that a judge can just cross anybody, look at his face or her face and say, you deserve to die, and no document for anybody to review or check. we noticed that also. And then those who have served out their sentences but are being held back by fine, we also know that that looks like a lacuna in our system or law, because if there are fine and somebody has finished sentence, is sentence and fine, not sentence or fine, we should also be able to know what to be done if that sentence is served out but the fine is not paid. I was part of the jail release or visit by FCT Chief Judge in Kuje. The people who have served out their, who were granted pardon or their fines were paid, but the people paying their fines were not ready to pay their, were not ready to pay the compensation. He let them go. He said it's a totally different case, so I don't know whether that's applicable generally in law or he did that, but we will flag this so that we will all, it'll be part of what we're looking at. Then you talk about cell segmentation. It's very important to us when you mention that there are some places where the same size of cell is hosting just 4 inmates, while in the same facility, another of the cell is hosting over 200 inmates, meaning even the overpopulation in that particular cell is not because of lack of facility, but for the fact that a cell was reserved for a certain people, certain class of people. And it wasn't like they are quarantining people or people who have issues that require isolation are in those cells. We also have taken special note of this. I want to stop here. There are more, but I want to stop here so that we can take other ones.
Okay, I think, thank you so much, and thank you, public, for your questions. All the comments, we appreciate all the comments. I'll just answer the question. The issue of statistics, we'll revisit it again to check the percentage, cross-check the percentage to be sure we get it accurately. Now, on the issue of, I think, answering to Mr. Carlos' question, I think I made the explanation that it is sentence and fine option. So they are like, he says, they have served out their jail term, but they are still in custody because they are unable to pay the fine. In fact, in one of the facilities, the judge told us that he pays for some that cannot afford to pay so that they can just go. And there are people that also come, and then some of these people don't even have access to their families. In fact, one of the inmates asked us, do you expect me to stay here and raise the 1 million fine option I was asked to pay? So that the 1 million fine imposed alongside the sentence. So that is it basically for that. I think that is the only question that requires our...
Okay, I want to thank the Lagos team for your thorough... Yes, you have comment?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to respond to the one of Legal Aid Council.
Okay.
So as we're there, the Legal Aid Council, the director, made a call, and when he called, the person, when we were in Badagry, the person that he called cross-checked, and because a lot of them were saying they didn't have legal representation, but when they cross-checked this, he noted that some cases were being handled by the Office of the Public Defender. So I think they have a coordinated system where each of the organizations have a record of who is handling what. But sometimes, as at the Legal Aid Council, they were not allowed access into the detention facility. I said, what we observed was that Legal Aid Council was not allowed access into the.
It is wrong. I mean, so that's why I said it is wrong. I know that I have raised the issue of lack of coordination at different fora, but there is no need to exclude any agency that provides legal services, because these are inmates that require these services, more so for an organization that the government had designated for that role. The legal aid services that are provided by the Office of Public Defender is an added on, yes, but you know it's prosecution. But yet they still provide that because they see a gap. NGOs are also providing, but the major thing is that necessarily need to be done is proper coordination, and we now know where we don't have access and make sure there is proper access to those levels. I think I want to thank you, and I want to say there are a lot of issues you've raised which are very serious issues that we need to look on in terms of Lagos. I also have, we have also taken note of the comment made regarding Ikoyi. Ikoyi Custodial Center has a serious peculiarity given that the landmass is so small. Because the landmass is so small, you feel it. When you are in that facility, you feel the crunch. So it's, but if it's, which is different from what you see in the medium, because medium you see space, but Ikoyi, there's no space. So the question is whether truly we should have a custodial center at that location, given the encroachment of the urban and area and all the rest of that. So thank you again. Then I will now request you all to have a motion move for the panel to receive or not receive this report from the Lagos team. Do we have a motion? Okay. Okay. There's a hand at the back.
Jamil Bala Muhammad, I hereby move the motion to accept this very, very excellent presentation by Lagos team.
Okay. Do we have a seconder to that motion?
I second it.
What's the name, ma'am?
Dr. Grace Okudo.
DIG retired, Deputy Inspector General of Police retired. Okay, do we have anyone opposing that motion? Okay, I see no hand. And therefore, on behalf of the chairperson and indeed members of the Independent Investigative Panel on alleged corruption and other violations against the Nigerian Correctional Service, we will step down and receive the report of the Lagos State Audit Team on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, the chairman of the panel. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. The report of the Custodial Center audit of the Anambra State Correctional Service Command conducted from the 25th to the 29th day of November 2024. For the sake of our time, I seek the leave of the Honorable Panel to exit the executive summary. The Anambra audit team in the entire were able to visit all correctional centers in Anambra, and which comprises about 4 of them: Onitsha, Nnewi, Abuja, and Awka respectively. We, in our own activities, were able to look at the welfare, check at the welfare of the inmates, collect their data, and check even down to their toilets, and we're able to find out some things. And within our scope, we limit ourselves within the ambit of Anambra State. We start with Onitsha. The opening hours as at the time of our audit is 942 inmates, that is come into the correctional centers missions. Despite the challenges faced in that way, we commended the educational and vocational program of the Onitsha. Their vocational training includes tailoring, piggery, cosmetology, carpentry, and welding. These are all their vocational activities we found at Onitsha. Then their feeding and hygiene. Yes, in the course of their feeding, we have interface with the in charge, and we're able to know that the feeding were being done according to the law presently on ground. And we felt the amounts were not able to give them enough. The in charge made us to understand that they stored food for at least 1 week. Security challenges. the center in Anambra that have female inmates. And at this wise, if an offense is being committed at Aguata, the Aguata have no facility by a female inmate. They have no facility of an inmate there. They will take such an inmate to Onitsha, and this will make the Onitsha correctional officers taking these female inmates back to Aguata for her trial, and they have just one functional vehicle. And at that time, we're made to understand that even the Atata, the one vehicles they have is just this Hilos van, that the Atata is spoiled and you need urgent invest. Then they have vocational training available at Newi is barbing, tailoring, and dry cleaning. Then we observe what fundamental issues in Newi. In Onitsha have places of worship. They have church, they have Catholic church, Anglican church, and even Protestants are about building their place of worship at Onitsha. But in Newi, we discovered that they only mark out a place, a very small place for Christians to worship, where there are no mosques, and in fact that place was even again used by a church. A church is being used by a church because of security challenges. So there are no very sacred place for worship as it was in Onitsha. Now the hygiene, nutrition and health status of the inmates, the hygiene conditions in cells and among inmates are unacceptable. Though the population of Newi were not as compared to that of Onitsha and Oka as we will show, but their hygiene conditions were not acceptable, and when we asked, we were made to understand that if not for the little facilities going into that area, because it's a rural part of Anambra State, there are no presence of all these NGOs and other persons are coming from, and they have no power to so change the warrant. And in Newi, there are no provisions for minors, which is against the child act rights. It's against the right of the child, that the minors are being kept with the adults, they fed with the adults, and they are not supposed to be tried, but with the adults not even be kept together. Now, feeding challenges. In Newi, the feeding budget is overstretched due to the overcrowding nation. Yes, physical challenge, health facilities limitation. Now, in Newi, the clinic generally is under-equipped. In Newi, the clinic is under-equipped, lacking medications and diagnostic tools. Complex medical cases cannot of inmates with mental health conditions and severe disease, such as tuberculosis, beyond the expertise of facility staffs. Now, transportation. At Newi, they have 2 functional vehicles, hindering inmates' transportation for court appearance and medical emergency. Now, we find out that since they have no much functional vehicle, some inmates will now miss the date of their case per time, and that may take them longer time to secure another date, which was really found at Newi. Then legal and judicial delay. In Newi, we find out prolonged remand proceedings. Prolonged remand proceedings in Newi. Now, we interview some, and we find out that though the inmates may tell you this is why we are here, on their warrants is armed robbery, being in possession of firearm, and these are issues that the Ministry of Justice ought to give legal advice, information being charged, and an inmate will now be in that situation for more than 3 to 4 years without an information for his fate to be determined, which is against his fundamental human rights. And that leads to delay in justice. Now, treatments of minors, like I earlier pointed out, minors of this we find out were being taken to irregular courts and alongside with adults, which definitely is against their rights. Then we have our Excel sheet we attach to our information. All this information, we reduce it in Excel sheet, both at Onitsha, Newi, Agwata, and Oka, respectively. And now this takes us to Agwata. Same day on 27 November, we went to Agwata. The opening out of Agwata is, their capacity is 210. But at the time of audit, they have 164 inmates. Now this gives us rate of 28% on the crowded. Now the Agwata do not even admit up to their capacity. But that does not mean that all these inmates are enjoying what the 210 capacity so ought to enjoy. As we go on, we'll bring it up. The 162 inmates are awaiting trial. 38 convicted inmates are currently held at the facilities. 6 convicts with option of fine. 47 awaiting trial remain in custody due to their inability to perfect bail's condition. These 47 were being granted bail, but they could not really get out of there because of the bail condition. Now, 33 inmates have not attended court for 6 months and above. We use 6 months as a benchmark, 6 months and above as a benchmark in all these 4 correctional centers we visited. So, about 33 inmates have not been there. We notice with 8 minors at Agwata prisons. The health condition. Though the Agwata, since they have the capacity, they have what we call isolation centers for their inmates. We find out 4 tuberculosis cases and 1 HIV case were isolated from other inmates. HIV. Then 1 tuberculosis patient has completed. We noticed 1 tuberculosis patient that was sentenced. He has completed his sentence term, but the court made an order that he should remain for a full treatment of that diseases before he be allowed to go. Now, the sleeping arrangement, even while the capacity, the inmates are below the capacity, the facilities are still below the inmates. As we have 44 inmates out of the 162 inmates, we still have 44 inmates sleeping on Ukorondo, which is they are sleeping on the floor. Then there are education and vocational programs. The Rocks Primary School and Secondary School programs supported by an affiliation with now. So they have an affiliation of the university. They affiliated themselves with the Onitsha Correctional Center. That is the Agwata people. The religion facilities. They only create a place for the Christians for worship, and we have Muslims that are there. And when we ask, say, I face the moon, the sun to pray. No place, no special place for worship. We find out that the feeding challenges due to the economic challenge on ground, their feeding were overstressed. Medical challenges. In our visit, we still find out that the medical situation, the facilities, are not enough to cater for the inmates. Like 11 inmates exhibit critical health conditions, including tuberculosis, HIV. Then we have two inmates that were brutally tortured by the former SARS known as SWAT. In fact, in our interview, we were made to understand that they were harmed for months. And physically, you can see that on them, swollen legs, swollen tummy, and they were. So when we asked, how do you have to take this kind of person? Then the man now made a statement that even when they were ready to reject, the inmates were even still begging. The inmates were still begging that they should receive them, because if they should reject them to this men of SWAT, they may eliminate them. And that they've admitted some persons like that before, and with little resources, and even then using their own personal money, were able to revive some of them. So it was our findings at Abuja. Then, like we said, their clinic is beyond standard, is under-equipped. Then they still have what we call transportation constraint, because they are in the rural area. They need a very movable vehicle because of challenges. In fact, the day we went there, we have to go in a style, because it came to a time, if not for, they say we must visit all prisons. People were saying we shouldn't go, but we have to go. And we do all head counts of all inmates. So I got to have that. Then, human rights violation, torture and abuse, like we rightly pointed out by law enforcement agents like the police. Thank God the retired Deputy Inspector General of Police is in the house, and I think it will be even of help to talk to the current Inspector General of Police for us, because the activities of the men called SWAT we recorded on that level was not something to write home about. Overcrowding and legal delays. Now in Abuja, we find out one peculiar issues. There is this delay. One particular magistrate do what we call contempt. In fact, on their warrants, you see contempt of court. We find out one inmate that have 5 sentence, but he was still standing. He was still in prison, and I asked, "Why are you in the center? Why are you here?" He said that they said court charged him for contempt of court, and that is at Abuja. Then we have what we call treatments of minors at Abuja. We observe aggressive behavior of inmates, and like we said, we attach our Excel displays everything attached to our reports. Then we went to Oka on the 28th day of November 2024. The capacity of Oka prison is 280 inmates, but currently Oka were housing 731 inmates, resulting in a staggering 161% overcrowding rates. Now, inmate status. 534 inmates are awaiting trial out of this 731. 188 inmates are convicts. 23 convicts remain in custody due to unpaid fines. 138 awaiting trial inmates are unable to perfect their bail. Then 137 have not attended court. 137 inmates have not attended court for the past 6 months and above, even up to 4 years. We noticed 16 minors in Oka prison. Then health-related issues, 90 inmates exhibit critical health issues, including tuberculosis, HIV, skin infections, and other severe medical conditions. Now, in Oka, we notice lack of isolation center for these cases in Oka, because Oka have no much facilities to house to even house the inmates, not to talk of isolating these ones. Sorry, there is a vital point of these 138 awaiting trial inmates who have on bail but still in prison. We noticed that 1 or 2 of them were granted bail, conditions were already met, but the deputy court registrar at the Federal High Court 1 and 2 refused to produce his release warrant, and these inmates were still in the center up to today. It's a critical issue that we have to interview the inmates. Now, the 90 inmates of this exhibit critical health issues, including tuberculosis, HIV, skin infections, and other severe medical conditions. Now, lack of isolation facilities. Individuals with communicable diseases are housed in a highly congested. In fact, in all the centers we went, Oka have not even space currently to even say bring in a bed, a bunk to house inmates. In fact, we have to even ask these other persons sleeping on this men Okorondo, you are saying, how and where do they sleep? And we were made to understand that in the night they will spread clothes and all these things on and that same facilities have no isolation center for cases of HIV, AIDS, and tuberculosis. So this is a great concern at Oka. Now, the sleeping arrangement, even when you look at Oka prison, is at the center. And when we look at it, we have to go around. There is not even space for expansion. Even if you say you want to expand, there is no space for expansion at Oka because they are occupying a very little area at the center of Oka, which is a very great concern to us and to this team. Then the sleeping arrangement, like we say, their sleeping arrangement, 416 inmates sleep on the floor. 416 inmates sleep on the floor. Now, if I even the bunk, there are bunks without beds, without mattress. Now, operational and infrastructural observation. Now they have primary school, secondary school, and tertiary education program.
How much time do you need more? Because we need to ask questions, receive this, and also have lunch.
Very little random. And then their hygiene, despite severe...
I want to suggest that you may not need to read your recommendations. What's important to us now is your observations, even to the listening public. The recommendations are what we can filter through. The most important thing is these observations.
Thank you, sir. We go to the inadequate medical facilities. Their clinics are under-equipped. In fact, even when they have severe issues of tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, their clinics are under-equipped. The transportation and constraint and other resources. They have one functional vehicle, which is a Toyota Bus given to them by the Catholic. Now, this hinders transportation of inmates to court. And there are human rights and behavioral observations, human rights issues. Some inmates reported instances of human rights violation, though this could not be substantiated by the audit team. When they say it and we ask, we were made to understand that some of them were on penalties. Aggression and intimidation. Due to the overcrowding nature, the aggression and intimidation is inevitable. Then we also, 16 minors are housed with adults. Like we say, 16 minors were housed with adults and were being taken to regular course with the other persons. Then the overcrowding and...
Do you observe anything that looks like a trend across the state? Or it's just in few correctional facilities?
Yes, in all the facilities, I think we find it looks like a trend.
It looks like a trend. Is
Is
there anything you found as what could be the underlying cause? Or?
Yes, our findings, the underlying cause in our findings is traceable to the arresting authorities.
Okay.
And
you did mention also that some cases, both the minor and those who went through torture, when you ask the correctional service officers, why are you keeping them when you shouldn't keep or accept them, they said that the inmates were begging to be kept so that they don't return back to the police and be arrested. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, vocational training facilities available. Availability of training facilities, one thing. Access to training facilities, another thing. Now, did you check whether the inmates were having unfettered access to those vocational training institutes?
Yes, we even in our Excel, we tabulate it. Even when we went to Onisha, some were, during the head counts, were made to understand that they were in schools, and some of them were coming from schools during our head counts.
Okay. Onisha is the only one holding male and female.
Yes.
Do the female in Onisha have access the same way that the male have access?
Yes, sir. The vocational training and vocational facility are open to those who indicate interest. Yes, both male and female.
Did you ask specifically the female?
The females, yes, sir. And none of them indicated interest except a few.
I know why I asked if you asked specifically.
Yes, sir.
We know how the female are marginalized, because even in the Onisha you talked about the side for the female looks very small. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
good. And then you talk about inmates aggression.
Sorry, sir. When we ask why that side, and we're made to understand, I asked the in charge, why is it very too small for them and they are not even allowed free access? The language is that they say you cannot release a goat to a lion, and that is why they have to make it a partition, that they should be separated from the male.
Okay, and I will take that for their safety. Okay, and then you talked about aggression and disciplinary measures. Inmates aggression and disciplinary measures, what specifically did you observe? Because aggression is one thing, disciplinary is another thing. Disciplinary can be used by correctional officers directly or through the inmates. So what was your observation? Was it a complaint, a formal complaint, or you observed?
Though it was an observation, it was not a formal complaint. While we went to Oka, we saw an inmate being handcuffed, and we asked, and it says under disciplinary measure, and we observe and inform the in charge that even if he's to be disciplined, he shouldn't be handcuffed. there should be a lighter mode of discipline than handcuffing him, isolating him from other.
What if the inmate is aggressive to other inmates and to the officers?
Yeah, no, even at that, it will be against his rights of woman torture.
How long was that handcuff? Was it just?
They said that thing happened. We don't really get the he said over a week. He said over a week, and when we asked, they said he was going about duping the inmates, using the inmates' name, getting money, extorting money from their family, and that is how they have to.
Okay. And that wasn't only handcuff; there was leg chain. Okay. And then inmates that are sleeping on the ground and those that are sleeping on bed, the proportion for ground is quite massive. And then those sleeping on bed, how did they get the bed? Is there anything that you found that qualifies somebody to be sleeping on bed against the other? Because you've talked about two things there. One, it breeds a kind of inferiority complex on them. Apart from that, also the infectious diseases we talked about and other ailments like cold and all of that. But the ones on bed, how are they getting the bed?
Yeah, in our interview, because we asked the welfare officer, and we're made to understand that the bed were not being prioritized. The bed were being given according to how they come in. Now, the next person in line will fill in a bed if, because in our presence at Oka, about 2 inmates were finished were released after finishing their sentence. And I now ask, who is the next? They now said the next person, because there are seniorities. So that is how they get their bed. It's not been...
Okay, sorry for that. That's slightly different from my own experience. A number of inmates I interviewed told me that they pay 15,000 and it was almost uniform across. Did anybody else experience that? Please take the microphone. We are asking these things not to puncture reports. We are asking so that we can get in-depth information that will enable us to know what to look for as we investigate the system. Please, your name?
My name is Ogechukwu Onaibenebo. I'm actually from Anambra State team.
Okay. Can you join them, please?
Thank you. So we found out that some of them had to pay a certain amount, 15,000 or thereabouts, for their bed spaces. And some, even in the bid to survive, who already had beds, elect to sell to newcomers so they would have sustenance, some kind of sustenance amount to survive on.
Thank you very much for that one. At least it's an indication of something. And maybe I will stop here, but there are more. I should ask. Okay, the evidence of torture you saw, were there other reports? Because the particular one you mentioned in Aguata was about police. Were there other evidence of torture that were linked to inmates or inmates, correctional service officers to inmates?
Yeah, to a limited extent. But that's when we were doing the head count, we noticed there was some form of aggression that you would see some actually trying to beat some to toe in line. And then we tried to address it on the spot and educate them more. And somewhat, we also had an interface with one of the correctional officers in Oka, but it was kind of trying to make him to have some sort of empathy, you know, because somebody came out to join a line he was not supposed to join, and you know, he said, but it was an issue of a minor.
Correctional officers
yes,
watching.
Yes, it was a correctional officer who, when we requested for minors, came out. The boy came out and said he is a minor, but the correctional officer said no, but you have 20 years on your warrant. And I said, no, you can't tell him what he has on his warrant as opposed to what he knows is his age. So we try to confirm his age. So we also try to teach them to have empathy towards them.
Okay. Now, there were two more, just two. Aguata, you noticed that a particular court was remanded, keeping people using contempt of court. Yes. Were you able to guess specifically what they did or were alleged to have done in court that approximated to that contempt?
It was only one that we found out. What I found out, it was after his sentencing that I think there was a form of outburst from him, and there was that contempt then.
Outburst, what, a jubilation?
No, he sentencing. He started crying.
So,
yes, because we have to take special notice of that image. Like I said, after his conviction, he started crying and begging the judge, the magistrate, and the magistrate now commits him to contempt without trial, and he was being dumped there in the indefinite. He has finished serving the sentence, but that contempt, the warrant, is still keeping him.
It's of interest to us because you're saying you noticed a number of these coming from a particular court, so that we are sure the magistrate is not overreaching himself or herself. That's on that.
And the second one is an inmate who had already perfected his bail.
That's the last one I actually have here now. How long has he perfected his bail and he wasn't released?
Almost 2 years. He jumped bail. He wasn't appearing in court. After being granted bail, he was no longer appearing in court. And when he was rearrested,
no, that's different from the one I was thinking. The one I was thinking is the one that you mentioned that perfected his bail, but the deputy court registrar refused to serve the...
that's at Oka.
Oka. That one for how long?
Up to a year now.
No, let me help you because I think I've had a brief on that. 5 months, so that we don't proceed in wrong. 5 months. So, was anything done to reach the deputy court registrar?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
She was spoken to, and she was a bit invasive, but beyond our visit, one of our team members got in touch with the ICPC, and I don't know what the conclusion is right now, but
so it's been escalated to ICPC.
It's been escalated, yes.
Thank you. Let me stop you.
Okay. Thank you very much. There was a comment I heard you make, and I want to clarify what I heard wrong. And I'm going to quote what you said verbatim. Due to overcrowded conditions, aggression and intimidation are inevitable. End of quote. Did you say? Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yes. What we mean by that is that, like I mentioned earlier, that those on the bed feel more superior and those on the floor feel inferior. Even when we're calling for head counts, those on the bed will be the one shouting on those on the floor.
Yeah, no, this sentence I read out is kind of justifying aggression and intimidation based on the fact of overcrowding. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's why I'm a little bit concerned. Should aggression and intimidation justify overcrowding?
Oh my God, what kind of question is this one?
No. That is
no. You know, so we could have, it could be happening, but it's not justified.
No, yes,
even
not
though
justified.
you have overcrowding, yes. That does not mean that you should still go ahead to intimidate them or to have acts of aggression. The second issue I wanted to raise, because you saw consistently across many of the custodial centers that there were this underaged. And when we asked what were the root cause, I didn't think you went far enough, because you said it is the law enforcement agency, the policing agency that exaggerates their ages. So I asked the next level of question. Why do you think that is happening? Do you know? When we asked acts of the welfare officers, we observed that some of them visibly looked. Yeah, no, what I'm saying, why do you think? What was the motivation? What was the motivation for the police to do that? So the corrections won't refuse admitting them. So clearly, what you see playing out is that there is no young offenders facility in the entirety of the Southeast. Perhaps, I think when you say they have one, but Anambra does not have a young offender and the rest. And the police themselves want to make sure they detain these people. So that's why perhaps you are hearing the, but for them now to threaten the kids and say, if you go and say your real age, they refuse to take you, we will waste you, is something that we need to take very seriously going forward. I think you have mentioned the issue about refusal to produce release warrants, because this is really a serious matter that we will need to look into. I think there are quite a lot of issues you've raised, and I think those issues are issues that require proper focus. In our nature, you had said the women did not come because they did not want to come out. So the location of the training center, the ICT center, is also important. The female are usually in a separate wing, and this is why the Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019, Section 34, clearly says that you should have a separate standalone facility for females. So, whilst it says the same thing, both Section 34 and Section 35, talking both about young offenders and women, respectively. So, by having a female wing inside, the challenge, and this is probably something maybe if, I don't know whether you will ask them, the officers or not, you find out that the women will not feel that easily, so it's there, but it's not really accessible. And I think we've also taken note of the fact that you mentioned about the investment of the Catholic Church in Onitsha Custodial Center. You mentioned the bishop and what the bishop had been able to put in that facility, and how this is not comparable to other locations. And I think for all of us listening, the point that have been made about when a facility is located in a location where there is more affluent people, then it may be speaking volume in terms of the facilities that come to that. I will pause here and see whether we can have one or two persons who want to ask questions for to the Anambra team, so that we can quickly accept this report if you so desire. Yeah. Yes, we will need to deal with it quickly because we are going to go for lunch now, immediately after. So it's important. Do we have any questions from the audience? I do not see any. All right. So if there are no questions for Anambra team, we want to thank them very much. And then we'll ask whether we have any proposal from the audience for acceptance of this report for Anambra by the panel. Can we have a motion raised for that? Yes, as I see a hand there.
My name is Igor Anthony. Having listened to the report presented by the Anambra team, I hereby move a motion for the panel to receive their report. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have someone seconding that motion? There's another hand there.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Oba Oluchukwu Francisca. I hereby second motion.
Do we have anyone opposing this motion that is before us? Anyone opposing it? I see no such hands. Therefore, on behalf of the chairperson and members of the independent investigative panel on alleged corruption and other violations against the Nigerian Correctional Service, we will, on the strength of those motions being raised, step down and receive on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria the report of the Anambra audit team.
Get out. phone didn't on. Is it?
Let me also say that we will need both your hard copies and the soft copy. Of course, we've received the hard copy and the soft copy. Okay. This brings us to we close it now. You should have, you should have made it now because we have to close it.
Just a general observation that may help in your conclusion.
We do not, just like 1 minute.
Okay, maybe I should talk to you after.
No, announcement, just making that.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is that in your conclusion, you should try playing around different understanding for the meaning of justice when it has to do with enforcement of law in democracies. Now, the second one is that since the transition from prisons to correctional facilities, you may need to consider adequate training for.
Okay. So if you have recommendations, I think it's also open. You can actually submit your recommendations.
That's fine.
Now, I'm about to tell you about the process because what we have done yesterday and today being the 12th of December 2024 and the 13th of December 2024 is to have the very first leg of the public hearing. Please do note that the panel on alleged corruption and other violations against Nigerian Correctional Service is still receiving complaints and memorandum from the general public. So if you have any complaints that relates to issues about corruption or issues about torture, cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment, or any other violations that falls within the scope of the mandate of the panel, please kindly ensure that you make those submissions via the physical submission platform, which is addressed to this chairperson of the Independent Investigative Panel on Corruption and Other Violations against Nigerian Correctional Service. Permanent Secretary's Office, Ministry of Interior, Old Secretariat, Area 1, Gariki, Abuja. This can be sent either by courier or by hand delivery. We do also receive via email, and we will showcase that email, but it is investigativepanel@interior.gov.ng. I repeat, investigativepanel@interior.gov.ng. We will also send you 4 phone numbers. We will project it. Please kindly do project it on the screen. 4 phone numbers where you will send any inquiry, but we are not receiving written submissions via those phone numbers. It's only for clarification and inquiries. Please do note that the panel is intentionally structured to be participatory, to display transparency, and also to ensure that we have adequate understanding regarding the dimensions of the issues being so raised, so that the recommendations will be such that we will be comprehensive as well as be able to be sustainable and dealing with the root causes of the issues. There will be continuation of the public hearing come January 2024. Please ensure that you duly register with the registration desk, giving your telephone and WhatsApp numbers, and we will also ensure that all of the people who have attended yesterday and today's public hearing will be duly notified about the date of the next hearing. These hearings are currently being skewed towards the 13th of January 2024 down, but the specificities in terms of the location and the number of days, we will let you have that information as soon as possible. Also note that if you have made submissions of your complaints or memorandum, the panel will send you a letter giving you the specific date where we will have public hearing concerning your specific complaints and submission that you have made. Over these past 2 days, what has happened is that the panel have received reports from the audit teams that have visited the following locations: FCT and the custodial centers that harbor FCT inmates, which goes beyond FCT, and that includes Suleja and Nasarawa. Then we have received reports from Plateau State Correctional Centers. We have received reports of the audit team that went to Kanu Correctional Centers, as well as the audit team that have submitted report from the custodial centers in Adamawa Custodial Center, Edo State Custodial Centers, Lagos Custodial Centers, and Anambra Custodial Centers. We still have outstanding the submission for Abia Custodial Centers, and therefore Abia's submission will be stood down to January 2025. It is therefore on that same note that I want to thank you all for your participation, and do remind all of us that this is about our country, Nigeria, and we intend that your collaboration and partnership will work together with the panel and the panel members and the chairperson to ensure that the outcome of this process and the recommendations that will come out from this will be such that as Nigerians we will be proud of, and that will also give us the kind of Nigerian Correctional Service that we all will be proud of. It is on that strength I want to thank you all for joining us, and also plead that you continue to do so all through the deliberation of the panel. Having said so, I would encourage all of us to duly stand as we read, sing, and in honor of our great nation, our national anthem.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for coming. Thanks to the Secretariat, to members of the press, CSOs and everyone for being here. So please kindly do remember to put your name in the attendance registrar if you're here to do so. I think it's a special one for the media and those who belong to different media organizations and houses. That's okay. Okay, there's also tickets for food, for lunch, so please, on your way out, by the registration desk, please collect your ticket. But please make sure you must have first have written your name on the attendance. Thank you.
No, never make keep up myself. John. John.
Okay, collect it.
I know. Collect.
Don't risk it.
No, remove it. Come and take it.
Okay, they are taking your.